Welcome back to Miami. It is usually sweltering conditions down here each and every year, but a fairly stiff breeze has made the conditions a little more comfortable. But time to get into the finer points of this challenging track. Dorsey, talk us through.
Well, Miami Homestead is in fact a roval, meaning that we will both use the high-banked oval section of the racetrack as well as the infield road course section. Now, the passing zones that are really good are here in turn 1, here in turn 6, and certainly here at the end of the back straightaway, turn 8. Now, that being said, there's going to be passing all through this turn 2 and turn 3 area as cars get side by side. It's very slippery on that infield, but the banking itself, 20 degrees of banking, is going to be very quick.
There you have it, the Lexus track map, giving you the finer points of Homestead-Miami, as we now show you our 7 onboard cameras.
Going to be a lot of action out there today, Lee. Certainly the drivers are going to have their work cut out. We've talked about tyres already. They have to manage those tyres if they're going to be in good shape at the end of this race.
So those 6 plus this one here inside the 99, and John Fogarty, we heard from both Alex and Dan Gurney. Well, John Fogarty was a part of that great race victory in Mexico City, and he did an awesome job. His first race win since he wrapped up the Atlantic title back in 04. So that was a long time coming. And we won't be waiting too much longer, because round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series is about to erupt into life here in Miami. The Ruby Tuesday starting grid rolling across the top of your screen. The cars go wild. Here, let's do it in Miami. Magnussen leads the field. Pat Long tucks into 3rd place. John Fogarty into 2nd. And around the outside comes Colin Brown.
It's right here up through turn 2 and turn 3. It gets very tight in turn 3. You see a car off the track on the outside. Good job of saving it. The Kodak car was close to spinning. That
was Geddes in the car there. He had a great qualifying run up in the top 10 there, and you saw Darren Law really fighting for position early there, having to give way to Colin Brown.
So prototype selling into a rhythm. The GT boys getting set for their start as they sort themselves out. Tracy Crone taking a defensive line. Matthew Alhanan. And the GT boys are flying. Good, clean starts in both categories.
Boy, those GT cars were not that far back, were they? They were right in that picture frame.
Look at Fittipaldi taking a look down the inside. He's not close enough there, but certainly a revitalized Fab Car chassis.
Very wide line from Jan Magnussen. Exiting turn 8, back onto the Speedway. Here we go. Can the 99 Gainsco Pontiac go with him?
Could be tricky right here, Calvin, because the tire temperatures and pressures aren't up all the way. They're getting maximum downforce right now because they're on the banking, but those tires aren't pumped up yet.
That's right, and every pound of pressure is worth about 50 pounds of spring rate, and it takes about 2 or 3 laps to really get them up to their operating pressure. The tire buildup is about 5 to 8 pounds.
On board here, look at this.
Mark Patterson taking the position, a car off in front of him.
2 gone, I think 2 gone, Dorsey. 1 gone, 1 massive lockup. And Patterson did a good job. That's Tracy Crone. And
he will be stuck in the gravel trap I talked about at the beginning of the show. Oh, right rear's gone on this car, Cal. Tires missing on the 72.
Eric Lux in problems after qualifying very well. Tracy Crone is beached, going nowhere.
Well, that will bring out the full course yellow right away, because that car will not go under its own power.
This just changes everybody's strategy. We thought there'd be yellows here at Homestead. There have been in the past. Mexico City, we went flag to flag without one. And already here on the 2nd lap, we've got some action.
And Tracy Crone doing his best to try and get himself out of that situation. But sadly, there is no getting out of that one. Here's the replay.
Look at the tail end right as they're going to come into the picture here. Well, that's contact between those 2 cars. I think Tracy Crone possibly has been hit and sent off.
Jim Matthews is right behind him there.
Yeah, I think Matthews got in contact with Tracy, putting him off.
Well, this is deja vu, because Tracy was hit in Mexico City, Chris.
Well, both the 87 and the 72 came into pit lane. Both cars with flat rear tires. Well, left side on the 87, right side on the 72. The 72 car going down pit lane right now, still smoking, so obviously some body work still laying down on that new tire.
Wow, is there what?
Well, maybe there was contact there between those 2 fellas, because opposite sides of the race car, it's possible they bumped.
Yeah, it looks like it, Cal. And that was separate from what was happening up in the DP area where Tracy Crone and Jim Matthews have gotten together as well.
Now, this was very tight on making it on one stop. We've got the tire concerns, certainly. That will change strategy on trying to do on one stop on fuel for the DPs. but certainly this should get everybody in their window with just a little bit of help with yellows.
So Nathan Schwartzbar it was in the 72, excuse me, I called that as Eric Luck, so my apologies there. So it's Nathan Schwartzbar in dramas. And speaking of Porsche, we'd like to say thanks to our friends at Porsche. They're going to bring us the first half hour of racing with no commercial interruptions. So thank you to Porsche for that.
They brought us some action, though.
Guys, I just checked in with Jeff Brown, who was calling the shots on Tracy Krohn's number 76. He said no contact. Could be exactly what you guys were talking about. Tires not up to pressure or temperature yet, guys. Of course, the other thing that we got to take into consideration today, there's just no grip on this racetrack. A lot of wind blows a lot of that sand on the infield portion. We've had Indy cars running on the oval, but really not much on the road course this morning, so the track is going to be dirty. Big, strong wind down the front straightaway, and that's going to play havoc with gears. If you haven't chosen your gear selection right, taking into account that wind, you may be on the rev limiter halfway down the front straightaway with a big tailwind, guys.
So we owe an apology to Jim Matthews. No contact. Wasn't his fault after all. Sorry, Jim.
There you have it, and here's where we stand. Yellow, that's what it is. Field compact, rolling slowly. We'll go back to green when we return. Stay with us. You're back with us at Homestead-Miami Speedway, round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, and this is the Krohn Pontiac Riley of Tracy Krohn, team owner, team principal, getting back up and running after being rescued from the gravel trap outside turn 1/2. Here's the replay.
Well, we heard Tracy Krohn say he did not get touched, so you have to assume he didn't. The Matthews car was wiggled. Here's a better look, possibly. Yeah, I think really Jim Matthews was just having to get on the brakes to avoid contact.
Yeah, they're certainly close. That's a very tricky braking area as you come in there, Dorsey, through turn 1 very fast, then trying to get the car balanced and settled and probably do a downshift. You may have just mismatched the downshift there and locked up the rear wheels, possibly.
Well, you're coming off of 10 degrees of banking onto that flat down there, which is flat, and still braking quite hard, so it's easy to make a mistake.
There has been some activity while we're away in that commercial break. We'll get back to that in a moment. Brian.
Tracy Krohn brings his number 76 in. The back of the car looks clean, with the exception of on the left rear, there is a little bend to one of these side plates down towards the bottom. So hard to tell, guys. You've got a better look at it than I did on your replays. Was there contact? I looked at Matthews when he came in. Didn't see any damage there, but definitely bent down here on the 76 car, Chris.
Ryan, Nathan Schwartzbar back in with the 72 car. Team's having to do a little bit of repair here. Problems with the rear sway bar in this car. It looks like they're just going to take it off and send the car back out, but he's already been in pit lanes for 1 lap, so he's going down 1 and probably 2.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Chris. That activity we were talking about in the commercial break, Andy Lally has replaced R.J. Valentine in the 66, and Mark Goosens has taken over from Jim Matthews in the Riley Matthews car. 2 very interesting strategic moves early on.
Well, they got a long way to go if they're going to make it with a 1-stop. These guys will be driving for 2.5 hours, more than that, actually. So that's a long way.
The key is, though, Dorsey, 2 very fast guys in. I think both of those guys will be a factor in both classes before the end of this race.
So 1 more lap before we see green. Race leader Jan Magnussen, there they go. They're getting the finger. 1 more lap to go. And we will get back to racing. So the order is Jan Magnussen, John Fogarty, Patrick Long, Colin Brown, Darren Law. That's your top 5. Good mix of teams, good mix of power plants and chassis right there. Then Christian Fittipaldi. Then Memo Rojas in the position he started, which is 7th. Andy Wallace teaming with Chris Dyson in that 16 Porsche Crawford. This race meeting. It was meant to be Chris and his father, Rob. Rob had business commitments that did not allow him to compete here, so they drafted Andy in, but of course drives for the team in the American Le Mans Series and is a long-time family friend. So that was an easy get there. Mark Wilkins, the AIM Autosport car is 9, and JC France, the 2nd Brumos Porsche, is in the top 10. All right, let's go on board the 60. Let's go on board with Mark Patterson and have a look at what caused this caution.
Right up ahead there. Tracy goes off the outside by himself.
Dropped a wheel, I think, there, Dorsey, on the entry to 1, and that got him squirrely and lost it into turn 2.
And then Jim Matthews had to really lock the car down to keep from possibly collecting had he spun.
Chris, you got more?
Well, it looks like they're getting ready to send 72 out. Oh, the team had originally put back on the rear wheel that a lot of the shoulder was gone, so I was surprised they were going to do that, especially with the banking here at Homestead. But now I think they've taken a look at that, realized that that probably wasn't the thing to do, putting on a new right rear Hoosier.
You can actually see the cord right there where the rubber had been worn away.
Key is this is a long championship season. They have to get the cars back out there and just score as many points as they can on a bad day.
Some applause there from within Team Taffel, just congratulating the workers, saying well done. Good job in getting young Nathan Schwartzbar back out and into this race. So we're working our way to green. Lights are off. You can see the safety car has pulled off the circuit. And Jan Magnussen in the Wayne Taylor Racing SunTrust Pontiac Riley ready to lead this field. Have some various cameras mounted on this number 10 car. This one I love. We'll show this to you throughout the broadcast today. You can see that front right working. And there's a different angle on this car as well.
This is the 23. It's a left-hand side shot as opposed to the right hand on the 10.
Maybe we'll see them side by side at some point.
We can get those cameras together.
All right, are you ready? We're ready. Let's do it. Green flag flies here at Homestead-Miami. We do it again for the second time. And look, pushing hard down the inside is Andy Wallace. Very opportunistic move, fighting with Memo Rojas.
And they jumped Rojas on the start again. We saw him in Mexico City, really weak at these restarts.
Oh, JC France looking up the inside of Mark Wilkins. Couldn't quite get it done. Wilkins is working on young Rojas. On board with Pat Long.
He's looking racy right now. He is probing around, trying to find a way inside of John Fogarty. Down into turn 3. There you see Fogarty protect the inside just to say, I know you're there, I know you're close.
Wow, we've got some news. Car 3, car 16, improper restarts, and they will receive drive-through penalties.
Well, the key is you may not change position before start-finish, either on the initial start or the restart in this form of racing. And sometimes these guys, when they're switching from one series to the next, Dorsey, week to week, they can get caught out by that, like Andy Wallace.
Right, and Randy Ruhlman, the other car in that problem. Of course, Randy Ruhlman, a full-time series guy here. Both those guys improved positions before the start-finish line, which is a no-no.
Talk about a breath of fresh air for the Ruby Tuesday Championship racing team of Pat Long, Jorg Bergmeister and Alex Job. They've been struggling. They've turned it around here at Homestead, though. It's a season-best qualifying. They did Daytona 8th, Mexico 8th, here 3rd, and that's where the Californian runs at the moment. Chasing Fogarty, chasing Magnussen.
All Pontiacs and Porsches, though, right up in the top 6 right now.
Look at this, the pressure's on Magnussen. Boy, haven't we seen him in some classic races here over the years, in Daytona prototypes and the GT class. He likes this race, he enjoys it. He's achieved success, and he leads this field and leads them well.
And none of these drivers have yet settled in. Here comes up the inside the Ruby Tuesday Porsche. Had a look at it, on board with him now. Nobody's settled in yet because they haven't made 2 laps in a row consecutively.
And the key is coming off these hairpin turns, no traction control this year. This is where the time management comes in. If you really abuse these tires in the first 10 laps, you're going to have a heck of a time during the course of a 40, 50 lap stint potentially.
And you'll hear it right here. Listen to the engine. Little wheel spin when he gets up on that curb.
Well, and there is Catherine Crawford / Wallace. The reason why she's a little hot, well, she's defending her husband. She's sticking up for Andy Wallace. She's, of course, working within Team Dyson and for her parents' company, Crawford Race Cars. Now let's have a look at the restart, see if we can find out if Andy's guilty or not.
Andy Wallace is back in this area right here. Keep an eye. There he comes.
White and blue car.
Wow, he didn't pass anybody by there.
Oh, I think they've said it's got all 4.
Yeah, I got the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong one. You're right.
Yeah, all 4 wheels
he was
over that
below that white line.
There you see Mark Wilkins, who's having another great run here this weekend. He had a power steering failure in qualifying. Otherwise, potentially, he could have been further up the grid, already lapping GT cars.
Colin Brown is the green and blue car in the background. He's sniffing, looking for a shot at these front-running 3. What a very different race already to Mexico City. No runaway leaders here.
Pat Long looking really racy, too. He's moving the car all over, trying to find a place to put it.
These guys won here last year, had such a strong start to the 06 season, but really haven't really been able to find their own way this year. They said the new tyre from Hoosier really threw them a bit of a curveball. And there you see Fogarty really loose coming off that hairpin.
That was wheel spin, Calvin. That's where the traction control you were talking about, not being on the cars. He just spun up the rear tires and keeps that up very long. the rears will go off quickly.
There's plenty of action happening here in Daytona Prototype Land in GTs. It's Eric Lux for Taffel Racing who leads the way over the first-time pole sitter Lee Keane, and Nick Ham is in third place but running very quick lap times. Fogarty to Long. All a driver asked for is to have a chance at winning a race, and your Bergmeister Pat Long have felt somewhat handcuffed in the past 2 races. Now Long does not feel that again. He knows he's got a chance in this one. Brian.
Alex, hate to tear you away from the race. I know you're watching our coverage, but watching John out there, you and I were just talking about tires and the lack of traction control. What does John have to do right now to hold on to that car, not let the car behind him by, but chase down Yan?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. You know, it's really slick. We found that out this morning in the warm-up. Basically, just don't spin the tires coming off the corners, and really don't make a mistake. It's real easy to do, but just try and keep it clean, and should be okay. It looks like we might be a little slow on the oval section. I'm not sure, but anyways, I want to get back to watching.
Oh, easy, guys. Just don't spin the tire.
Contact right there. Colin Brown takes out Patrick Long as he was trying to get by also. Wow, that all happened back a corner ago, didn't it? I mean, the pass Patrick Long made anyway.
Fogarty lost a lot of ground there. He had an issue coming off one of those tight turns. Long took advantage. Colin took advantage. And then when they came to the next hairpin, Colin got in the 23 car, turning him around.
Well, something we need to tidy up from Mexico City was in fact Pat Long, who got into Paul Edwards and turned Paul Edwards around, and now it has happened to Patrick Long. The pressure's on further back. Mark Wilkins on the inside of Darren Law. Didn't quite work, but that was a brave move.
Sensational stuff by the youngster. He's not intimidated by these experienced guys. They're here to make a statement. Sharing the car with Bert Frizzell this weekend, one of the Frizzell brothers who are doing kind of sharing the car, Dorsey. It's got to be a tough gig to be watching every other week.
Yeah, one week you get to run, and next week you watch your brother.
And that ain't Autosport. Lexus Riley is 8th in this championship standing. They have been the real dark horse performers. On board with Fogarty, who's lost several positions. He went from 2nd to 5th in 1 lap. Let's go back and have a look at what happened between Fogarty, between Brown and Long.
Well, Brown gets in very deeply into the hairpin. There's the contact. He takes Pat Long around. Oh, as well, did you see that? Fogarty got hit from behind as well. Watch it here. The 58's going to get in the back of the 99 right here.
Well, I think Colin was so focused on outbreaking Fogarty, he didn't really take into account that Pat Long had to turn into the corner.
This will give us a different perspective.
Ooh. And you hear the punt there.
And I have to tell you, as we enjoy this third replay, that the 75 has received a drive-through penalty. Avoidable contact.
Well, I kind of agree with that, unfortunately. That was in really deep for Colin Brown.
Whoa. Pat Long is really into it. He just gave someone a short back and sides head. He is not hanging back.
He's going to be fired up. This team needs to get back on track. They've had the problems. They did a lot of testing in the offseason. They thought they'd come out in strong form at Daytona, and they were really concerned. There were furrowed brows there in the Alex Job camp throughout the course of that weekend. It wasn't much better in Mexico, but they did get a good top 10 finish.
Well, one thing, you can see a wave right there. One thing about the difference, now let's look here. The 59 JC France off the outside, and everything stacks up.
That's Pat Long diving on the inside there, is it?
Yeah, and he gets in with Mark Patterson.
Well, we'll see that on Mark's blog, no doubt.
I was about to say the difference between the 2 cars and the 2 engines. Here, Pat Long is running the Porsche engine. It doesn't have as much torque as does the Pontiac engine, so it was Pat Long's job to push these corner entries, really make the other guy get in deep, because those torquey engines want to spin those tires on the tight corners like that.
Here's your running order. It is Magnussen Brown, but you can take Colin Brown out of there. He must serve that drive-through penalty. Christian Fittipaldi suddenly finds himself in 3rd and will get up to 2nd when Brown serves that drive-through. Chris?
Lee, great run right now for that Crown Royal team. They were very fast back at Mexico City, but we saw problems with the half shafts there. The team still doesn't really know why they had those failures. However, they've gone with a different design here. The team just continuing to get faster, and Christian Fittipaldi saying that car is much more better prepared than it was back at Mexico City. So a good run for those boys.
Certainly trying to get on top of that half shaft this year. They've gone on the plunger type arrangement on the half shaft, which is pretty common with the Daytona prototypes, but they've also had to narrow up the bodywork. They made some major bodywork changes since Daytona, which certainly improved the car's performance at Mexico City. They felt they may have been pushing the outer parameters of the dimensions that are allowed, so the team went back after Mexico City, narrowed the car down a little bit. Now they feel they're actually within the regulations.
Colin Brown serving his drive-through penalty. He is on pit road. And look at this, Rojas working Fittipaldi. Growing impatient.
He's looking racy today, certainly. Had that little problem in the opening laps, lost a couple of positions, Dorsey, but now he's back up in third position with Colin Brown pitting, so he's having a good run here today, and this is what Scott Pruitt needs from this young man. Just keep the car towards the sharp end of this field, and Scott Pruitt can do the rest.
Rojas is still very inexperienced in this type of racing. All the guys he's racing around have run together now for a couple of years, and these restarts and so forth, he's just going to have to get a little bit more aggressive.
And you know what, Dorsey, you're spot on. He told me earlier this weekend, I've never done this kind of team racing, if you wish. It's always just been me in a single-seater. I don't want to make a silly error where I take Scott Pruitt out of it. He said, I just want to keep the car clean, and he said, I put my hand up. I admit, in Mexico City, I was over-conservative at the start of the race. I'm going to try and step it up a little bit.
There you see Fogarty going through some GT traffic. The Playboy Racing entry, Tommy Constantine behind the wheel, sharing the car with Mike Borkowski and others, we believe, as the season goes on. So great to see that Nissan here in the GT ranks. A little bit late in showing up, but now it's here. I think they're going to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, Dave Murray's in the mix there. They may even have two cars running at a point in time throughout this season. Rojas, Fittipaldi again. It's the Porsche Fab car, the Lexus Riley. Add in a Pontiac Riley for the Gainsco Bob Stallings car. John Fogarty right there. Rojas is loose. Fogarty tries to get in there.
That's all it takes, that one little wiggle like that. And Fogarty saw it, tried to put the nose right up in.
Tough position there. He's effectively on the outside for the upcoming turn 4, so he had to give way.
In Rojas's qualifying lap, it was the same scenario. He's overdriving the center part of the corner a little too much, carrying too much speed right at the apex and rotating the car, which loses the grip.
Well, the other thing that these guys are struggling with the Riley runners here this weekend on the banking and the heavy loading, they're losing the power steering, Dorsey. And what they're doing to try and alleviate that problem a little bit is run a little bit less caster in the front suspension setup. But what that does, it gives the car a lot of understeer through the slow speed corners. So it's really a balancing act for the engineers to figure out what to run.
It makes the steering lighter and easier to do so that the power steering doesn't fail. But what it also does is leave you with a very vague feeling of what the front of the car is doing.
Up front, Jan Magnussen boasts an 8+ second lead. That SunTrust Pontiac Riley is flying. Make it 8.6 seconds as Fittipaldi flashes across the line.
In the background, Wilkins was having another sniff, I believe, at Law.
Watch the rear end of this car, the 01 Telmex Ganassi car.
Be right here. Whoa!
That looked like a downshift issue, Dorsey.
Yeah, I think you're right. He got on the brakes and he mismatched the downshift and almost spun the car. Of course, Fogarty was right there to put the nose in, to finish him off if he did.
This is good, hard stuff. It's the battle for second. Brian.
You guys talking about John Fogarty, I did check with that team. They are on a dedicated two-stop strategy. Their thought was, hey, there's no grip around this place. We're going to run the car very hard from the beginning, use up the tires, and come in and get another set. So they are on a dedicated two-stop strategy. That may be why you see John Fogarty pushing as hard as he is.
You know who we need to keep our eye out on further down the order is Mark Goosens in that Riley Matthews car as one of the Stevenson Corvette gets a little out of shape. Goosens is in 9th and charging hard.
Christian Fittipaldi might have gotten into the back of that Stevens Corvette because I saw the back of his car wiggle as well, and they're braking. I think he tapped the Corvette.
This is where it's tricky with those GT cars. They're not as comfortable around the banking without the downforce that the Daytona prototypes have. So they typically have to treat it like a road course where they actually need to apex through there. The Daytona prototypes, on fresh tires at least, are pretty much easy flat through the banking area.
Lee Keane is our new GT leader over Nick Ham and then Kelly Collins. So we've got a Porsche, a Mazda, and a Pontiac. 3 different makes in the top 3 positions. On board with Fogarty, looking at Rojas. This is tight. Speaking of Lee Keane, here he is. First Rolex Series career pole. We congratulate he and his Farnbacher Lowell's team. And doing a fine job.
These GT cars can definitely destroy their tires before the end of this fuel stint. I mean, you got to wonder about what pace is being run right now and who's hurting the tire the worst.
The Porsche runners especially are saying their rear tires are really going away. Very few guys got full dry running here in terms of doing a full fuel stint to see what the tire wear was like. We had a lot of rain here yesterday, so that really created a problem for these guys to really get their effective running and strategy sorted out. But certainly the Porsche seem to be in a bit more trouble. This Mazda, though, is a very balanced and lightweight race car. They could be in better shape tire wear wise, Dorsey.
And then even saying that, Calvin, I listened with Nick Hamill, was not flat through the banking. He had to feather out and relieve the pressure on the throttle, so it is almost on the loose side.
From the Porsche to the Mazda to the Pontiac, we ride with Kelly Collins. Very disappointed in terms of what happened in Mexico City. He felt as though that car may have had a chance of being on the podium. It was certainly running in a top 3 position. Sounds good, doesn't it? Chris, what do you got?
Kelly Collins is right now reporting to the team. He's moving the sway bars around the track, trying to get some rear grip. So already a lot of these GT cars reporting problems with rear grip. That's what we're also seeing with the 74 car. Eric Lux made a charge all the way up to first place, but has faded in just the past couple laps back to 4th. The team trying to work through with him, trying to get him to ease back on his throttle application because he's burning the rear tires off of that car too. So a couple of these GT guys already complaining very early in this race. Rear grip is definitely a problem.
So the drivers have an adjustable sway bar at the front of the car and the back of the car. And with the car getting loose at the back, you would lighten up the rear bar, make it lighter, make the rear grip more. But that being said, that's a very minuscule adjustment. So if it's not enough there, he'll go then to the front bar and stiffen it up, try to induce a little understeer, or the front not turning as well, and try to balance that before those rear tires are just knackered.
That's really the key, Dorsey, is having the experience to work with that. Also having an engineer, when you start to express from a driver's perspective what the car's doing, having a good working relationship with the engineer can suggest some of this stuff. Kelly certainly experienced just to do it naturally, but some of the younger guys like Eric Lux probably needs a bit of help there.
Whoa, look at this, working through traffic. And this is Fogarty holding off Darren Law, who has managed to shake off young Mark Wilkins, the Canadian driver in the AIM Autosport Lexus. Here's our leader, Jan Magnussen, to the tune of 9.5 seconds, Brian.
Wayne Taylor looking at the timing sheets right now. Wayne, the pace that Jan is running right now, we talked about tires in the beginning of the show. Is he going to have tires left? 1 stop or 2 for you guys?
Well, I think he knows better than all of us, and he knows that the tires are going to be an issue. However, he's comfortable doing this, and as long as he's comfortable, we know that we can stretch those tires.
When you look at the card game that's being played around you, have you figured out what the other team's strategies are yet?
Well, really, at the end of the day, for us, this is about the championship, and we have to look at the 01 car. We've seen that the car next door changed drivers after 2 laps. But, you know, I think some teams are thinking about a 1-stop or 2-stop. With the yellows, it's very difficult to know.
Just going to wait and have to see how it plays out, guys. Any way you look at it, tires, they're on everybody's mind, guys.
It's going to be great strategy calls by the teams here today. The car next door he's talking about is the Riley team, the team that Wayne Taylor's run with for so many years. Mark Goossens got in that car early. Wayne Taylor is aware just how fast Mark Goossens is.
Well, he has been matching Magnussen lap for lap in the 1:16 range. Goossens is currently 20 seconds behind Magnussen. But remember, no driver change for that car. A report from the ground that car 11, Milka Duno, has experienced a spin. Big announcement this weekend that Milka is on her way to the IndyCar Series, the IRL Series this year with Samax, and that is some big news.
Well, here's a car going the wrong direction. There was a lot of dirt on the racetrack back there a moment ago. Can't really tell.
The RBO car.
Roger Schramm, I believe.
Yeah, it is a 12 car. Roger Schramm driver.
That's the ex-Fernandez car. That was a race-winning car last year.
It looks like he stalled it, Calvin, and he's sitting in a pretty precarious situation right now.
And again, these cars do have onboard starters, but sometimes with all the heat and just getting into race conditions, sometimes they do not want to fire up. And if that will not fire, there'll be another yellow here.
So your order is Magnussen, Rojas, Fittipaldi, Fogarty, Law. That's the top 5. Wilkins 6. Long has worked his way back up to 6 now. As we speak, he's got Wilkins. Then J.C. France, Mark Goossens, and Mark Patterson, the top 10. Let's ride with Magnussen.
Magnussen short shift to second to third up there. Not much grip in that corner, but he's shown us that. And we've got a full course yellow for Roger Schramm that we just passed on board. That's our second of the event.
Yeah, second of the event. Lap 21 of 109. And again, we'd like to thank our friends from Porsche for bringing us this first 30 minutes of racing. Uninterrupted, commercial free. And so far, so good for this man.
I think we're going to see some pit stop activity here. Guys like Ian James are going to be chomping at the bit here to try and get in their car and show what that car can do, because those guys have been extremely fast here.
Well, this looks like Magnussen's out, Cal. Brian?
Jan Magnussen seems like a long way to come down this pit road with the speed limiter on the steering wheel. They've got to run that pit road speed limit to make sure they don't get a penalty, but Magnussen will bring it in. They will take this opportunity to change drivers and tires. Magnussen right on the marks. Angelelli getting ready to get in the car. 4 new Hoosier tires. Driver change looks to be smooth. Not a mark on this car, and you would expect that right now. Magnussen running so clean, well out in front when that full course caution came out. Angelelli getting behind the wheel like clockwork down here for this SunTrust crew, Lee.
It looks like it's going perfectly. And well done, Jan Magnussen. Not only did he set the pole yesterday to be the 3rd different pole winner this year, but a great opening stint. Chris?
Lee, the Mike Shank pits are going to get very busy here, too. Mark Patterson already bringing the number 60 machine to pit lane. Oswaldo Negri getting behind the wheel. This team very happy. Their 2 gentlemen drivers did not go down a lap in that opening stint, so now they're going to put the shoes in. Oswaldo Negri in the 60 car. Ian James, who's been very, very fast all weekend long, will be getting in the 6 car. Just behind them, the 16 machine getting just fuel right now. It looks like just fuel for Andy Wallace.
Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good.
Interesting call by the SunTrust team there by bringing Mags in, because they're now committed to a 2-stop race, certainly. They're not going to go the other 70-odd laps here today without another stop. So they're committed. Some of the other front runners can still stay out and try and make it a 1-stop. So they may still all be looking at 1 stop to get to the finish today. So we talked about strategy. Dorsey's already showing its cards here.
Of course, they're looking for another caution. We've had 2 so far out of 22 laps. 2 cautions. They could use another one in about 15, 20 laps. They'd be happy.
On board, the GT winner from Mexico City, Nick Ham, and of course his team owner and teammate Sylvain Tremblay, as the RVO Motorsports Daytona prototype is rescued. It's been some good racing so far, and so much more to come. We're in our 2nd caution period. Stick around. Loads to come from Homestead-Miami. Welcome back, everyone. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville and Brian Till with you here, live from Homestead-Miami Speedway. It's round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, and we have some of the big guns that have climbed aboard their Daytona prototypes, like Bill Auberlen. As we get down to pit lane, this is going to be good, boys. Brian.
Lee Milcaduno brings in the number 11 Citgo Pontiac Riley. Patrick Carpentier will take over, and the good news is I was just told that she was on the lead lap when she came in. I'm not exactly sure about that with the problems she had on the racetrack. They will have to replace the nose. Right now, the air hose caught up underneath it after that off-course excursion that she had. A little damage up front, but nothing to the splitter. That's the good news, and the good news is if Carpentier is on the lead lap, we still got a long way to go, and this man is fast, Lee.
Yeah, he's in good shape there, Brian. They are on the lead lap, and there's enough time for him to catch this field back up before we go back to green flag races. So Patrick is very fast here. He's run here in champ cars over the years, but certainly his first time on this Roval. But he'll get up to speed very quickly here. So great strategy there by Peter Barron and the boys at Samax. And with Milka going off and doing her IRL campaign, she'll only do potentially 2 or 3 more races in this car to finish out the season. So Peter Barron, as we know, is keen on employing very fast race drivers. And with Patrick and another really fast guy, these guys are going to be a factor at races this year.
Well, I tell you, the way that thing just worked out with all the pit stops, all the fast guys in now, some have some more fuel than others. This is going to turn into a sprint race is what's going to happen.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, some pretty big news involving Milka Duno and the IndyCar Series. Big announcement this week that her and her sponsor, Sitco, along with Samax, are on their way to the IRL. She will join it at the 4th round, I believe, at Kansas. And that means that her Rolex Sports Car Series program will be somewhat diluted. We won't see her in this series all that often, but you will still see Patrick Carpentier. And we understand that Peter Barron, the team principal, will announce a new sponsor and a new co-driver at the next round at VIR. We look forward to that. And of course, for everyone here at the Rolex Series, we wish Milka well in her new endeavor in open wheeler racing.
A couple of other girls already competing very successfully over there. Sarah Fisher and, of course, Danica Patrick. So there'll certainly be some rivalry over there in the Indy Racing League.
All right, we've just working through here, working our way back to green, getting everything in order. But the really encouraging and exciting thing is that all 18 Daytona prototypes are on the lead lap. Look out. The order is Christian Fittipaldi, Darren Law, and Mark Wilkins. Then it's J.C. France, Colin Brown, and Max Angelelli. Patrick Long is 7th. Memo Rojas is 8th. Fogarty is 9th, and Goosens is in 10th. You can keep going down this star-studded list, but there are some very fast boys in their cars now.
And you mentioned Goose is in 10th, and he has made a second pit stop for that car. So he's topped up with fuel. He's in great shape as the pace car is pulling off.
Yeah, lights off. We're ready to go racing. Harrison Briggs will take over this 39 Crown Royal Special Reserve Porsche Fab car for Chiva Racing. Once Christian Fittipaldi is done, Law will need to hand over to Donahue, David that is, and Mark Wilkins will have to hand over to Bert Frizzell. So there's still a whole range of driver changes that need to be executed as we get our teeth into this race. Still so much to come as we wait for the end of this second caution period to be over. It is. We go back racing, and we've got 2 Porsches up front going hard at it. Law on Fittipaldi, tries but couldn't quite get there.
J.C. France having a great run there in 4th position. Colin Brown recovering from that drive-through, back up to 5th.
Ian James looking for a shot on the way through. We're on board with Oswaldo Negri Jr. Big home race for Oz. Lots of family and friends here in Miami as he tries to put the pressure on Mark Goosens.
I would work with Mark Goosens if I was Ozzy right now. That's a good combination. Those 2 cars and drivers can work together and lay to waste this field real quick.
Mark has really made a commitment to be over here doing his racing in the States. He's moved from Belgium now, residing in Mooresville. He's got his girlfriend here this weekend. And look at this, Angelelli looking for a way through this heavy traffic.
Everybody defended there. It was 4 wide for a minute as everybody did not let the inside be open.
It's Colin Brown up ahead. Max Pappas in pit lane standing by, waiting for his turn.
We talked about the different setups. This is where it's going to really work for you if you've trimmed the car out. Got good straightaway speed down here. Look at Angelelli hugging the white line.
Takes a short way around and he positions himself for turn 1.
Has he got it? Yes, he has, on the inside of Colin Brown.
Boy,
great call, boys, and well done, Angelelli. He's not done with yet. He wants J.C. France.
J.C. doing a good job through that corner. Did not leave it open.
Remember, much fresher tires. Here's Long forcing his way through also.
That was a little payback. That was a little payback from before.
And it catches Colin on the wrong side of the racetrack. A bad place to be with that lineup of cars that he's got to deal with.
Remember, Angelelli has much fresher tires, as does Goosens right now. The rest of the boys on the tires they started this one with.
What an exciting restart. It's on. One of the Banner Engineering Pontiac's gone.
I don't know where that's going.
Down in turn 1, I think he's trying to find his way back. If you cut through onto the oval, you lose a lap on the scoring there. So Tim Lewis Jr. there trying to find his way back.
Rojas on the inside of Oswaldo Negri.
Oh, rubs him a little bit right there. runs him out to the curbing.
Correction on that. It was late in the race in the 06.
Here comes Michael Valiente off to your left, thinking about it on Negri. Is he with Oz? Are they side by side? Not quite.
This car
might have trouble. No, that's...
Here comes Orblin as well. Bill Orblin in the mix in the Seagull Sport BMW. Whips up the inside of Michael Valiente. Matthew Ahalef has done his work, has done his job in the opening stint of this race. Now it's Billy's turn.
Ian James down to the inside too. He's got a fast race car.
And Valiente does not have a fast race car. There's something wrong with that car as he's been held up. That's why everybody got all stacked up back there.
That's a surprise because the car was playing first in the winter testing, and Michael said, I think we've got a top 3 car here this weekend. We just got to stay on that lead lap.
Look at this. All these cars are on the same lap. All have the same shot at winning this race. It's Christian Fittipaldi who leads the way from Darren Law, from Mark Wilkins. This young Canadian, I can't believe it, and many people can't. What an effort from this young team and this young driver combination.
Wow, you see JC Franson, they're almost making contact. JC doing a great job, and these guys are cutthroat right now, and he's hanging tough.
That is awesome. This Brumos team are rejuvenated. They switched to the Riley chassis mid-season in 06. Took them a while to get to grips with it, but boy, they're performing here.
Look at Max the Axe. He's doing what he does best. Chops up the inside. He's looking for it on France. Cast your minds back to 2003, the inaugural season of Daytona Prototypes, and right here at Homestead-Miami, the 59 was the first car to record an overall victory for Daytona Prototypes.
Wow, look at the front of the pack there. Darren Law really trying to get his way inside of Christian Fittipaldi. JC France, just a great drive here today.
Angelelli and Long ready to pounce.
I don't think Christian Fittipaldi's got the fastest car there, guys. Look at here comes Pat Long again.
Oh, look at this, side by side. They are banging.
Rubbed him again. That's Angelelli. He won't take kindly to that.
This is awesome.
And that may have cost Pat Long a little time and a little distance. He's got the inside line heading up into turn 8 so he can defend. So that position he holds is safe, but Colin Brown is coming back hard. Goosens is in the mix. Fogarty's there, Rojas and Negri.
And Finley is back. I think he just missed a gear. I think the car's okay.
That's the good news because he has a strong race car. He's a smart driver, Michael Valiente. We've seen him lead races before in Daytona Prototype. Had a great run at California a couple of years ago.
More on the 19, Brian Till.
Al, I just checked in with the team down there, and they said Valiente's struggling with a little straight line problem right now, so they don't have all the horses that they want out of that Ford flower plant, but Valiente doing all that he can.
How close was that?
Cow, they rubbed it too.
Goosens around the outside of that GT car. Just a great move.
And I guarantee that loosened both those boys up.
This is total commitment right now, and we're only on lap 29.
Back of that pack there is Ian James and Bill Orblin. Keep your eyes on those two boys as we climb aboard with Fogarty. Let's take a look at a replay, an earlier replay. John Fogarty, watch at the top of your screen.
He gets pushed out there, actually, I think. They didn't give him much racing room out there. Colin Brown moves him over and off the outside of the racetrack.
Look at Pat Long having to defend. Now on board with John Fogarty.
Fogarty had the prime viewing spot here of Long getting into Angelelli. And then it was here where he ran a little wide. Whee! Hang on to it, John.
I think that was Colin Brown running him wide there. I think pushed him a little bit.
This is on board with a two-time Atlantic champion. First time ever here, actually, in a Daytona Prototype. Boy, has he picked a race to make his debut in.
He learns quick.
That lead pack's getting a little ugly, I'd have to say. It's pretty neat racing, though.
When spoke with John in the pit lane earlier this weekend, I said, how was that victory at Mexico City? He said it was sweet. I've been waiting for a long time to stand on the top step of the podium. We've got one of the team Salem cars off, is it?
And that's going to be another caution. That's Joe Nonamaker in the 43. Once again, stuck in the gravel trap that we talked about at the beginning of the show.
That's Danny Joe, head of the Nonamaker clan, father of Will and Wayne, and runs this Team Salem organisation, so our third yellow.
Joe told us this weekend, Lee, that they're really focused on not running so many customer cars and really trying to get better performance from these new Corvettes. Earth here built chassis. Georgia Bay Motorsports put the chassis together and built the cars up. A lot of potential there.
And that was only a local at that time, but we now have gone full course yellow.
Usually this would bunch the field up, but it's not going to bunch this field up because they're already bunched up.
Well, again, some calls have to be made up and down pit lane right now. Certainly Angelelli will stay out there, but some of these other guys I would think will have to be hitting pit lane. They're halfway through their fuel window. Tires will be a little bit thin in terms of their grip level. But there's still 70-odd laps to go here if we run the distance. But the more yellow we get today, there is a time limit of 2.5 hours. That should certainly play out now.
And updating you on GT as they make a flurry for pit lane. Nick Ham leads GT over Lee Keane, Andy Lally, Alex Tagliani, Wolf Hensler, and Kelly Collins very much in the mix. We just went on board with Kelly. And check this out. Harrison Bricks taking over from Christian Fittipaldi.
This is all routine so far. Driver change being done and both drivers helping one another. Tires going on, fuel in.
It's not only the 39 is in pit road, the 59 is in as well.
Hurley Haywood taking over from J.C. France. What a drive France put in. You guys were talking about it. Spectacular. And right now, Hurley Haywood will take over this Porsche. Not a lot of marks on it, but you can see a lot of rubber on the front. These guys out there doing tremendous battle, as you guys were calling it from the booth. Routine stop, 4 new Hoosiers. Crew just helping Hurley Haywood get his belts on. They should get this Porsche Riley back on track, guys.
Chris?
Brian Harrison Bricks still here with the 39 car, just getting ready to pull out of pit lane. Little bit of damage to that car. You can see some of the aerodynamic things that are slapped on the side. There are some turns and twists in them, so these guys definitely doing a lot of bumping and banging early in this race.
Talking about aerodynamic things on the cars, we saw on the 59 car they were changing the rear gurney flap on the rear wing to change the downforce level. So even though J.C. France was fast, he was reporting to the crew he had some imbalance on the car. They're trying to fix for Hurley Haywood to now take it back to the race.
My hat's off for J.C. France. Now that is the best I've seen that guy drive. I mean, that was really with the best there is, and he put right up there with him.
Updating you on the 23, no driver change. Long is still in. Chris?
Lee, Christian Fittipaldi just jumped out at 39. Christian, what a run. You guys debuting that new car back at Mexico City. Problems there, but right now, you got the lead.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We thought we were going to be a little bit stronger here in Homestead, but we still have some work to do. It's a matter of getting the car ready and going out to test, but the team did a great effort, like going to Mexico, as you said, without having tested the car and coming straight over here. It's on the right track, and hopefully we're going to get better.
Everybody seemed to get along pretty well at Mexico City, but it seems pretty aggressive out there right now. How is it on the track?
Oh, it was okay with me. I don't know about the other drivers, but as far as Darren and myself, and with also Mimo Rojas, when he went by me and running behind me, like it was fine. I feel sorry for the other guys.
Lots of speed out of this new fad car, and it's very early in its development. Brian?
Smiles down here on the part of J.C. France. Tremendous battle out there. What was it like from the seat? We had a great view from out here.
I was having a lot of fun out there. I was just trying to keep the car and the tires under me. It's real hot and it's easy to eat your tires up, so I was trying to be patient, stay out of trouble, and the car's working pretty good. We had a lot of electronic issues all week, and they got them sorted out, so that's the most fun I've had in a while.
Smiles all around down here, guys. Great race.
Oh, superb drive, and that famous 59 is still very much in the mix. But guess what? So are about 17 other Daytona prototypes. More from Miami in a moment. Spectacular live shots high above Homestead-Miami Speedway. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, we're flying high above with our eye in the sky camera. This is our 360 OTC Gin Resorts Sky Screen, and we'd like to thank our pilot Carl Harbuck and our cameraman Jeff Vaughan for their spectacular work. And it's great to have the 178-foot-long light ship right here today for the Rolex Sports Car Series. Well, draw a breath, regroup, we'll get ourselves ready to keep on going. As you can see, it's Darren Law in the Red Bull Brumos Porsche who leads the way over Mark Wilkins in the Lexus, and then it is Max Angelelli third. We'll continue to update you, but first let's hear from Kelly Collins.
Really just jumped out, handed over to teammate Paul Edwards. Kelly, we had a lot of talk about the GT drivers concerned about tire wear. Any issues now that we're into the race? Yeah, definitely. We're all falling off. In fact, everybody fell off dramatically except for the 70 car and the 85 car. We fell off. Everybody else fell off behind us. We actually, unfortunately, missed that first pit stop. Everybody else got new sneakers. And, boy, we were falling by the wayside. I had to do everything I could to, keep it under control and keep it on the track. I was getting hit by a couple DPs and even the Mustang. But now that Paul's in there, he's got some new sneakers. I think that we need to get new tires every single time that it goes yellow. I mean, it's just too loose.
Well, right next to us, Lee Keene. Nope, that's the other Farnbacher car. Right now, Dirk Werner getting behind the wheel in that car. So some of our leaders in GT deciding to bring it in. A couple others, the 85 and the 70 car, deciding to keep it out on the racetrack.
Just to explain what Cully was talking about in his California lingo there, the tires falling off doesn't mean they're literally falling off the car, of course. He's just saying they're falling off the pace that they should be running at, and sneakers are tires.
As opposed to new shoes on the driver.
Our linguistics expert is Calvin Fish.
It's bad when I've got to explain to someone saying it.
This is Nick Ham we're riding on board with. He's leading in the Mazda. That car is well balanced. You said it earlier, Calvin, that it really doesn't lead with the front or the back so much, and it balances out probably the best of any of these cars. It's also lighter by, I think, about 500 pounds.
Look, we've got superstars all through this field, but you have to take your hat off to these young guys and this young team, Brian. The AIM Autosport boys are doing an outstanding job.
I spoke with Andrew Bourdin and Ian Willis, the two team principals at AIM the other day. I said, are you where you thought you'd be? Are you ahead of the curve? And Ian said, we are so far ahead of the curve. But I guess when we really look at it, we shouldn't be too surprised. We've run spec series all our life. That's what the rules are about here in the Rolex series. They're so set, so we just follow the rules, engineer the race car, and the team doing well. Let's go racing, guys.
Yeah, Mark Wilkins has done some junior Formula racing, but nothing like this. I mean, he's been in the Rolex Sports Car Series, he's raced the Rolex 24, but this is high-intensity stuff as we go back to racing, and he's left himself open to the experienced hands of Max Angelelli. Max, the axe, pounces early.
You said it, Lee, experience there. Mark just really didn't get the momentum behind Darren Law, and now he's paying the penalty. Colin Brown through as well.
And Max got the name Max the Axe for just exactly what you just saw. He just chops his way through.
77, the Kodak Easy Share car for Doran. Mamo Gidley behind the wheel will get a drive-through penalty. Goosens is through.
He is flying. He's got a full fuel load. And he is one fast race car driver just looking for this kind of opportunity to shine here in the Daytona prototype ranks.
When we were away in that last commercial break, this man here, John Fogarty, was on the radio, not happy with the treatment that he was receiving from some other drivers on the track. Well, now John's dishing it out as good as he gets.
That's exactly what he did get, too. He got pushed off the racetrack in the same manner. He said, okay, want to rough it up? I got some for you.
Right on the limit there. Threshold breaking down into that corner. You could almost hear those tires squeaking as he's trying to turn in and still be hard on the brakes to avoid contact with Wilkins.
Well, that's what you have to do. If the officials aren't going to do anything, and if that's the tone of the race, well, payback is payback.
Look at Rojas.
You have to imagine Scott Pruitt is just chomping at the bit. He wants to be a part of this like you can't believe. It's Law, Angelelli, Brown, Goosens, Fogarty, Wilkins, then Rojas, then Negri, then Orbelin, and Michael Valiente in the top 10.
And we should say that when Scott Pruitt is in the 01 car, at almost all the test sessions and practices throughout the weekend, he's been at the top of the sheet.
And this thing's about to get good. Look who's just right around the top 10 there. We've got Osvaldo Negri in there, Orbelin, Valiente, James.
One of the fastest charging cars in the field is the 10 SunTrust machine. The man who sat on the pole and who led the early part of the race is on pit road.
Yeah, and Magnussen, a tremendous drive early on. You almost made it look easy, but the battle raging out there now. How concerned does Max have to be with the tires?
Well, obviously has to be concerned because it's a lot warmer than we've had all weekend here. So, and the track's very greasy, and there's a lot of stuff on the track, people dragging dirt in. So it's getting slippery. It's a lot better than I thought how the tires go off, and the car's working really well. So
you've been watching here on the screen, watching our broadcast. Would you rather be sitting here, or do you want back in the car?
I want to go back in.
They always want back in, guys.
Jan Magnussen got a very busy season, finished second at Sebring last weekend in one of the Corvettes. He's running the full Danish Touring Car Championship, about 30-odd races this year. And he doesn't go home for another couple of weeks. Problem here on the infield coming down into turn 6.
It's a 28 car, and it's Ian Boss. He's not in the gravel, and it's assuming that he can finally get the thing running, he can probably back up and get out of there. In the meantime, the safety car is ready if need be.
I think he may be, unless he's high-centered, he should be able to get out of there.
No, he shouldn't. No, he's got the door open, so no, he's given up the ghost with that one.
All right, make it number 4. Fourth full course caution of the day. Well, 2 things were anticipated about this race. A good tight battle and multiple yellows. We got both going on right now. So, as the Pontiac safety car is ready to be deployed, Ian Boss is stationary. Heads back over the wall. His day is done. More from Miami in a few moments. Hope you're enjoying the Rolex Sports Car Series here on Speed. Crawford race cars have experienced all kinds of success here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. 2 wins in the same season for Milka Duno and Andy Wallace was the real highlight. And then last year for Alex Job Racing, Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing, their first ever Daytona prototype victory at the hands of Pat Long and Mike Rockenfeller. Crawford and Miami equals success. And one Crawford Porsche combination on the track now is Chris Dyson and Andy Wallace. But for Crawford, as a manufacturer, the Rolex Sports Car Series has provided an interesting ride. In the ultra-competitive world that is motorsport, business decisions are made, and such was the case at the end of 2005 between Howard Motorsports and Milka Duno.
We did the absolute best job we could for Sitco and for Milka Duno. We won races, we had podiums, and so we felt like we did a quality job. We felt like we would like to put Butch and Andy together and run for, go straight after a championship. And with the competitiveness of the field and the teams that were out there, we felt like it would take something like that to have a chance to win the championship.
A year later, the team was at a similar crossroad with its second major sponsor, Dave Bruley's Boss Snowplow Company.
Dave Bruley had been with us for 3 years. He'd bought one of the original cars, and as I said, he was going to race himself. And then the competitive nature of it, he found out that his skill level wasn't quite where he needed it to be. And I believe his business commitments were far greater than he ever anticipated they were going to be. So he's been a supporter of the team for 3 years, and just general business commitments and where he's at with his life, he obviously decided that it was enough.
Fast forward to 2007 as the team was optimistic about a fresh start and a new season.
Well, we were going to run 2 cars and had a commitment to run the second car, and that fell out of bed, so that all of the other deals that were there we had turned away. It's extraordinarily frustrating because obviously we'd worked very, very hard over the winter and thought we had a really good package, and I think we still do. Every time Andy gets in the car, we're competitive. We were competitive at Daytona, but not in the race. The cars are competitive, they have been and still remain to be competitive. It's extraordinarily frustrating that the cars are parked right now.
To the finish comes Scott Bruin, who along with Salvador Duran and Juan Pablo Montoya in an international effort wins the Rolex 24 in 2007.
Ganassi's the best team out there, and they have the best engineering, the best of everything. They've done a really, really good job. And they're running a Riley, so obviously anything that they do rubs off or moves down or is passed down. The bottom line is that Bob and Bill have done a fantastic job with the Riley, and they've set the benchmark, and everybody tries to raise themselves to that level. If we're right and we're on the money and we've done a good job, we can be competitive with them. It's just the luck of the draw, and with the smaller number of cars, the harder it becomes.
We really think that this is where to be. This is a series to be in for road racing, and we feel like it's going to be a long-term process.
Obviously, right now, as you go into the shop, you'll see the guys are working. We're going to go off testing for Pirelli straight after Homestead, and Andy's going to do that for us. So Andy's still going to continue to help us. But the guys are working on a lot of aero packages right now, and obviously getting ready for next year as well.
Yeah, they've enjoyed tremendous success. They've won at least 2 races in every year they've been a part of this championship. And while Howard Motorsports may not be on the grid right now, there's some really exciting things coming in 2008 for those guys. And Max and Jan Crawford are here servicing their clients as we speak. Chris, what do you have?
Yeah, Lee, I think we're all disappointed that Andy and Butch aren't here full-time this year in the 4-car, but that has given the Crawford camp a little bit more time to focus on next year when they're going to introduce that next-generation Daytona prototype from the Crawford group. Right now, that car is well through its first iteration of design work. They're working on the model right now, which will go into the Penske wind tunnel. It looks like about an April time frame, so the team really able to focus on that. Right now, Andy in the 16 car, these cautions are allowing him to catch back up to the field, but it sounds like he's having some power steering issues, especially up on the banking.
One guy who is relishing the opportunity to pull on the gloves and get amongst this battle is Scott Pruitt. Let's hear from him.
Lee, Scott Pruitt is your championship points leader in the Drivers' Championship. And Scott, how hard is it to sit here and watch that championship begin to kind of slip a little bit?
Well, I wouldn't say slip a little bit. I think it's more just watching all that hard racing going on. Telmex car's running good. Memo's doing a great job. I had my kids at home. It's tough watching it. I mean, I've seen him scrap it out with those guys. Going inside, watch out, you know, what's going on. It's like it's nerve-wracking. I can't even stand to watch it. I want to be out there doing it, you know, not sit here watching it.
Well, you heard Jan Magnussen say earlier, I want to be back out there. Pruitt wants his opportunity as well, Lee.
Yeah, he'll be there too. This is Scott Pruitt's kind of race, that is for sure. Rojas is doing a good job. He's in the top 7, so he's keeping the car in touch. Hey, talk about GT racing. Take a look at this. This was on pit road earlier. The top 2 cars in GT doesn't get any closer.
Well, Dominic Farnbacher's crew got the car serviced a little bit faster. He has the lead right now. The black car, screen left, coming down here. But gradually, the pit lane speed limits must be a little bit set, a little bit higher on the Mazda there. Sylvain Tremblay forces the issue, but watch this. The youngster forces the issue back, and he grabs that position. It's not for the lead right now, but certainly that could be important.
We've had different winners in GT for the opening 2 events. Well, we have a third different one here today. Same in Daytona prototypes, incidentally. It's all shaping up nicely for this time-certain race. We welcome you back at the ideal time. Perfect timing. Right at the restart. 4th caution is finished and the race resumes. Darren Law is the man at the head of the field, and you ride with Max Angelelli. It's the famed Brumos Racing up against the newly formed Wayne Taylor Racing. A Porsche leads a Pontiac.
And again, just a reminder, Darren Law's tyres have about 20 more laps on them than Max Angelelli.
And that's going to show up, Calvin, once his temperatures come up. I would think after about 2 laps, Angelelli's car should be the quicker.
Car that is 4th in line as we go on board the Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing car. Right in the mix, looking at the Mike Shank Racing Lexus of Ian James up ahead.
Patrick Long actually moved up a position on that last corner.
Here we go. He's executed a few times here. Ian James makes it difficult. Makes that Lexus Riley very wide.
He defended late there, though. He really turned in, tried to narrow the angle a little bit, giving Pat nowhere to go.
Pat Long really using the brakes on that car in that hairpin. That's his favorite spot to overtake.
Jörg Bergmeister will take over the 23, the defending Daytona prototype champion. Yet to get in this car.
It's kind of funny to me that he chooses that corner to be good at, because the lack of torque on the Porsche would leave him the slower coming off of that.
Right. Colin Brown now trying to put the pressure on Max Angelelli. These guys are probably going to be fighting out for the championship. Max Angelelli is not going to have Magnussen all season long. They're going to have to switch a driver in there when there's some conflicts on Mag's schedule. Wayne Taylor, we believe, will only be back for the 6 hour of the Glen, having competed at the 24 Hours of Daytona, of course.
Now there's 1 hour 14 minutes remaining at the top of your screen. This has been determined by the Rolex Sports Car Series official as a time-certain race. So 2.5 hours will be the duration, not 109 laps. Brian.
When you talk about Magnussen not being in that car all year long, and that's really going to hurt Angelelli. You got to think about these guys, the last 7 races that they've run together, they've finished in the top 4. So Magnussen a big, big help in Angelelli's championship hunts. And Dorsey and Calvin, as you know, changing a teammate, even if it's a good one throughout the middle of the year, that's going to have an effect. It takes time to gel.
It does take time to gel. I mean, just the working amongst the team and the same kind of language. You know, what is tight to me might not be tight to you, or loose to me is not loose to you, or whatever. It takes a while to get it worked out.
Look at Darren Law go. Up front in the Red Bull Brumos Porsche, handling the pressure from Angelelli and Brown nicely. He has to hand over to David Donahue. No driver change necessary in the second car. The green and blue car, Colin Brown for Crone Racing. He will hand over to Max Pappas. The fourth car in shot, the silver car for Riley Matthews Racing. That is done. Goosens is in and will stay in. He set, incidentally, the fastest race lap in Mexico City, and these boys are very much in the mix.
The Brumos team just now finally coming to grips with the Porsche power plant in their Riley. It was a new switch for them. We all thought they'd jump right to the top of the page. Well, it wasn't that easy. They've had to struggle on the engineering of that car, and it just now, to me, looks like they're competitive.
And the 91 and the 10 are on exactly the same strategy. They both pitted around lap 22. So the fuel numbers will be the same in there. We talked about his favorite corner. Pat Long forces the issue down to the inside of Ian James and then jumps on that throttle. Here we can see how that Porsche horsepower compares with a Lexus right behind him.
And Ian tried to fade again, come across, but he knew that Pat had him. 12 months ago, right here at Homestead, Porsche recorded a victory. The last Porsche victory in Daytona Prototypes was VIR 12 months ago. And that is our very next round. And of course, yes, the victory went to Ruby Tuesday Racing with Pat Long and Mike Rockenfeller. New teammate this year in York Bergmeister. He will be stepping into this car soon.
But they're very familiar to one another, having run many races and won championships together in GT racing. So these guys know each other. They know how to set a car up, so they're both comfortable with it and make that compromise in every aspect of endurance racing, whether it's car setup or even driver's seat, as you mentioned, Dorsey.
Watch Pat Long. This is where he likes to get it done, right off this straightaway up into the braking zone for the hairpin.
On board Oberlin, the Luggage Express Seagull Sport BMW Riley.
Currently running 8th. There's Memo Rojas Jr. right in front of him. They actually changed gear ratios. Talking to Rick Meyer, the engineer on the Luggage Express car, said that first gear with this BMW, the Torque producers, just spinning the wheels up. They were really struggling in the first practice session, so they had a rethink in the gear ratios, trying to use second gear through those tight hairpins to minimize that torque off the corner.
Of course, you spin those tires up, then you just wear the rears out more than the fronts. As you see right there, Rojas to the inside.
And Rojas was lining him up. Here's a replay of Bill Oberlin on Oz Negri. He
had to lay the wood to him a little bit there.
That's tough racing. That's a tough place to pass and get in position for turn 4.
And now that's exposed Oswaldo Negri to Pat Long. And you see here that the Telmex car for Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabatis Racing has moved up a position. Rojas ahead of Wilkins. Here's your race leader, Darren Law. Brian.
Just checked in down there. David Donahue was actually listening to the broadcast. He said, hey, tell Calvin, these tires aren't 20 laps older. They're 47 laps on them and complete. They haven't been in to change tires at all. They'll have to come in about 10 laps. But he also said the overcast is helping us right now. It's helping us conserve the tires, and this tailwind down the front straightaway is helping us with fuel mileage.
Yeah, what I was talking about there, where they got 20 more laps on than Angelelli, who pitted on lap 22. So he's certainly pushing the outer limits here. We thought 50 to 55 was a fuel window, and certainly the tires are going to struggle and make that. The cautions will have helped that situation.
And Brian said that the overcast conditions were helping. Well, you want to spice it up a bit? We've got reports of rain approaching from the east.
Well, that's a typical Florida day for you around here in Homestead, South Miami. This time of the day, that water, that cloud comes off the ocean, comes in and dumps water on the land. It's almost predictable.
You're normally having your afternoon nap by now, aren't you? Look at this. John Fogarty working Mark Goosens. You're talking in the top 5 here. Bob Stallings, Gainsco Racing. And this is a massive weekend for Gainsco. Some 200 guests here. There's something like 200 people in their Miami office. It's one of the largest offices in the Gainsco company. So a lot of interested spectators here for this car.
And Cal, we always talk about getting the first win, how hard it is for a team. Well, that team is truly pumped up. You know, it's just not the phrase. I mean, it really does do something to the mentality of the team. Makes you work that bit harder.
just settles everyone down. I mean, they really were the practice champions last year, had a lot of speed, but just kept making little mistakes, whether from more in the pit lane, really, not necessarily just the cause, but just little slips, and it really just cost them. But now they've got that first one under their belt. They brought on a lot more full-time personnel this year. They came into Daytona feeling very confident, put the car on the pole, and that was just a disastrous 24 hours for them.
Good scrap here in GT. You got Alex Tagliani in the Black Forest Mustang, and working him over good and proper is Andy Lally for TRG.
And we knew when Andy Lally got in that car, it was just going to be a while before he got it toward the front. Here he works to the inside. I think he'll get this pass.
Under brakes, Porsche versus the Mustang, and Tag does not yield. Chris.
Well, TRG right now saying Andy Lally says the Porsche is in great shape. He's been doing a good job taking care of the rear tires, and this team knows how to win here. The past 3 times they've been to Homestead, they have won. So Andy Lally having a real good run right now.
Big crash, Chris, big crash here. Cars side by side. It is Negri and Shane Lewis. Beached, going nowhere.
That is exactly true. They're both, you can tell they're side by side.
And these two have a history together. Remember Phoenix back in 2004. These guys go a long way back. And there's reports from pit road, the rain is sprinkling. Naturally, it brings out a 5th full course caution.
This is going to get Darren Law in the pit window. I think they can make a stop here, get David Donahue in the car, and get to the finish potentially here without a need for a splash of gas.
I think these guys must have been arguing over the same piece of road, were they?
Yeah, I'm sure they were, and they bumped side to side and put them both in that gravel trap. Phew.
Shane Lewis, who's been a very busy driver this weekend, competing in the Indy Pro Series.
Where unfortunately he had an accident earlier today.
Chris, you got more?
Just checked in with Mike Shank, and he is through the roof right now. He can't believe the type of driving that's going on in the racetrack. He said there's so much bumping and banging going on. It looks like what we saw last year. Everybody seemed to calm down about the second half of last year, and then we had Mexico City with no cautions. Right now, it's looking like Bristol.
And look who's in. 99 driver changes in. The SunTrust car is in. They're all diving for pit lane.
It's going to be tight on fuel at this point, but the amount of cautions we're seeing today, there's surely going to be another one, and these guys will be good on fuel. So the race is on right now with the pit crews to service these boys as fast as you can. Faster refueling this year, taking about 30 to 32 seconds. Tire change should be done well within that, so you're waiting on fuel typically.
Bergmeister will climb aboard the Ruby Tuesday car. Pruitt was climbing aboard the Telmex car. Goosens is out fast, very fast, and Pruitt gets himself ahead of the Gainsco car.
Goosens really made up a lot of ground right there. Fantastic pit stop.
This is the Ruby Tuesday Porsche. It gets released. How about that? That really tested the team's efficiency, productivity, and just whether they kept their heads.
We talked about Andy Lally and Goosen being a factor in this one with that early pit stop strategy. Goosen is definitely in the mix here this afternoon now.
Just over an hour remaining in this race. We're in our 5th full course caution due to a collision between Oswaldo Negri Jr. and Shane Lewis outside turn 1. Now, did the Red Bull Brumos come in? I don't think they did. Here's the replay, boys.
There you see, Ozzy goes just off by himself. Mike Shank talking about traffic and contact. That had nothing to do with anyone else.
Now, and Shane Lewis. Wow, and then Shane Lewis, maybe there was a little moisture on the outside. Let's take a look. Of course, there's Oswaldo already. Shane gets a wiggle. Now he's out there trying to avoid contact. The only way that happened was the gravel might have stopped it. But they did not get together. Ah, there's the answer to that problem.
That was Pat Long.
Different corner.
That was Pat Long on Negri.
Look at the wing on
So maybe Negri had a problem with the car when he got down into turn 1. This is a strange decision here. I can't believe that they need the extra lap fuel strategy wise. So this is a very late call. He's losing huge track position making this late pit stop.
Brian.
Leader on pit road. Darren Law brings it in. David Donahue will take over. Damage to the front end of this number 58 Porsche Riley. You can see it on the left front, showing the scars of the battle. Chris said it looked like Bristol. The cars are starting to show the signs of the battle out there right now. Crew cleaning the windscreen. A lot of rubber I've seen on the front of these cars, a lot of debris. I think a lot of the sand from this racetrack really gets up and starts to sandblast the windows and the bodywork. Right now, David Donahue trying to get his belts on. Crew going to work, putting a little tape on the front end of this car. They'll get him back underway and see if they can stay in the lead. Donahue gone.
Well, this is a miscue in my eyes, Calvin. I know you're talking the same thing. You know, that's the lead car. It could have been in and saved track position. Now he's coming out after everybody else has made their pit position. He's going to lose a lot of ground.
This was, I don't understand it. You know, we'll try and catch up with the crew there and make sense of this. Maybe there's a communications issue between Darren on whether he should make that pit stop. But if you're in the fuel window, which we certainly believe we are, with just over an hour to go, still under caution here, all of the guys should be tight, but should be good to go. If you're leading, you need a pit.
Now, earlier than that, when we saw the cars out there, Osvaldo Negri, something I noticed when he got hit from behind, it looked like it bent the wing strut. I saw that the wing was at a funny angle. That's very fast going through turn 1 and 2. He might have got to turn 2 with the wing askew, and that's what caused the first part of this accident here.
Totally, and that's maybe why Mike Schenk was angry. He saw that incident with Osvaldo and getting hit there in the hairpin turn and damaging the race car.
So that situation being addressed, quite a bizarre situation. And we do have an onboard camera with Osvaldo Negri.
Now, listen here. He did hit already before that happened. We saw it on the other camera angle.
Shane Lewis did a good job there just to flick the car.
That was the shower of dirt from Shane, and then you see Oz just banging the steering wheel. He can't believe it.
This is the SunTrust car, the 10 coming onto pit road a few moments ago.
Oh, they touched right there.
Angelelli capitalizing on everything prior to that line. Brian.
Darren Law shaking hands with Bob Snodgrass down here in the pits. Darren, great run. Questions from the booth, though, about that stop. Why not in as soon as the full course caution came out?
Well, as sosoon as they called me in, I had already passed the pit lane entrance. We should have come in at that time, but I had already passed. I couldn't turn in, so it was just the luck of the draw. It's the way it went.
This racetrack challenging enough in the dry, doesn't have much grip. You've driven here a lot. If the rain comes down, what's it going to be like?
It is going to be a total mess because it's already tough in the dry. You know, that whole stint was tire management. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but at the end after the restarts, I know the 10 car and the other guys behind me had fresher tires, but they weren't gaining. It's because I saved those things in the beginning. But that's the key to this whole thing right now.
If it gets wet, guys, hold on. We still have a long way to go.
Well, guess what? They did get a little wet track time earlier this week on Thursday during the early practice session. So they have had at least a little wet track time, but it may get very wet when we return. And coincidentally, that just happens to be the hair color of choice for our Brian Till. Brian, who you got?
Well, Patrick Long just crawled out of the Ruby Tuesday Porsche Crawford. Chris Neville said it was like Bristol out there. Is there a part of your car that doesn't have a mark on it?
I don't know. These guys, they're running hard through the exit of the corner, and it seems to be a door banger. We've got a really, really good braking setup on this Porsche Crawford right now, and we're able to dive under these Rileys on the inside. And they're just slamming the door, but I don't know what happened to that 75 car. I think Colin Brown occasionally shows that he really is only 18 years old, because that was pretty amateur by my opinion. But I'll take a look at what it looks like on TV before I make any harsh judgments.
Very professional words by Patrick Long. And tempers, they're beginning to flare out there, guys.
How about that, huh? Two hot young American drivers not agreeing on things out on the track. A feature of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Back to go green when we return.
I hope they have a lot of them. That's what I got to say about it.
Dust off your crash helmet, Dawson.
They better have plenty, big supply.
Well, get ready to dust it up big time. We go back to green. End of caution. Ian James leads the way for Mike Schenk Racing. He's got Hurley Hayward hot on his heels. And then Harrison Bricks is in the mix in the 39 car. Max Angelelli, Mark Goosens. Here we go.
And that's probably one of the biggest rivalries in the paddock right now. The Riley group going up against the new SunTrust team, currently running 3rd and 4th.
Remember earlier in the show, Brian mentioned about Wayne Taylor Racing looking for its first win. It's Wayne Taylor Racing as a new group. It was the Factory Riley team. Bill Riley was part of that organisation previously. They've splintered. They've gone their separate ways. So there is a lot on the line right now. Green flag, thumbs up for that restart. Everything clean, everybody good.
Saw a couple guys take a look, but nobody made it past before start-finish line. They all tucked back in line, and the race is on.
Ian James did a test. Here we go. This is what we're talking about, the rivalry. Goosen's down the inside.
Oh, ain't contact.
No. He hit Harrison Briggs. How much damage is done to the front of the 91?
And will the precedent of being avoidable contact stand true? Oh, we got more problem.
That's Briggs regrouping.
We've seen that so many times down in that turn 8 area. People try to outbrake someone with their level with, and there's another car up ahead turning into the corner. We saw it early in the early laps, Doris.
And if Mark Raffoff deems that avoidable contact, that will be a drive-through penalty.
No different to what Colin Brown did. I don't see it any differently.
Ian James took over from his co-driver Henry Zogabe, who is one of the newer drivers to the Rolex Sports Car Series. And look at this, Gurney gets a little squirrely, had to catch that, and loses a spot to Patrick Carpentier.
Make it 2
Pappas
spots.
ready to pounce as well.
There's Pappas' front end. Now he's on the wrong side.
These are the 2 cars that went head-to-head at Mexico City, and they're together again. 51 minutes remain.
Max said he wanted to redeem himself. Let's see if he can do it here for position over Gurney.
We'll need to clean it up for just a minute so they don't get too far away from the lead battle, which is starting to take out on them.
Great part of the track here. They get to stretch their legs and come down to one of the slowest corners on the track. Is Pappas on the inside? Not yet. All right, let's review that situation. Let's revisit that situation with Harrison Briggs and Mark Goossens.
Goossens up the inside of the 10, and that's going to be clean, no question. But look, the 39 doesn't realize that he's in there.
No, and those guys were just breaking so much harder and deeper down into that corner, but Harrison did nothing wrong. He's running his own race, and he just turns in with 2 cars to the inside. Angelelli just misses him. Goosen tags him, and Pruitt there to the inside, up to 3rd. That's big.
On board, Angelelli. There goes Goossens. Bang. So even if Goossens doesn't get a drive-through penalty, I don't think he's going to make it with that damage anyway.
Well, you might be right about that. Harrison had no idea whatsoever that Goossens was in that inside so stout. If there is damage on that car, I agree with you, Lee. I think he's going to have to do something about that.
All right, we've just heard 91. Mark Goossens will get a drive-through penalty. This is your race leader, Ian James, for Mike Shank Racing. So mixed fortunes in that camp, because with Oswaldo Negri running off the track, however, the sister car, the 6, is leading the way. Brian.
Well, you heard drive-through penalty for Mark Goossens in the 91, but it could be worse than that. When he comes through, he cannot stop at his pit and do any work to that car. You saw the damage to the front of it. The crew will look at that car very closely as he rolls down pit road, but if he has to come back in, that'll be 2 stops within a lap, and that will cost them dearly, guys.
Ryan, he's got the headlight bucket knocked out, but I don't see structural damage to the fender. He might get lucky on this one and just have to do this drive-through.
It's unclipped. The top of the fender on the right-hand side has come undone there, but with the downforce pushing it back towards the chassis, he may be okay.
Biggest mover of the race is our race leader. Ian James has made up 18 positions. Let's go to GT, because there is a fabulous battle going on there. And we've got 85, Dominic Farnbacher, who leads the way, but the 70 of Sylvain Tremblay has just got by Paul Edwards for 2nd place. There they are, 1, 2, 3. As close as that, 3 different marks, 3 completely different teams, and they're all vying for the lead of GT.
Now, the lightest car in that class is without a doubt that Mazda RX-8. So the longer it goes green, the faster that car will appear to become as the other heavier cars start to run off their tires.
And this is going to be a long run lead for these guys with a GT fuel cell, so they're going to struggle to get to the finish here without a splash.
Just want to correct that. Let's make sure we've got the positions right. It is the 85 of Farnbacher, then it's Dirk Werner. So both Farnbacher Lowell's cars are 1, 2. Then it's Sylvain Tremblay, and then Paul Edwards. So that's the top 4.
Boy, really short shift in that gearbox.
You're still loaded through that turn, so if you just keep leaning on the throttle, it's going to loosen those red tires up. 16 car running slowly there.
Yeah, I got passed by the GT car, so something wrong with the 16. Now listen to this Mazda, this screamer, would you?
talked in Mexico City, Dorsey, about how much fun this car looks to drive. Nick Ham said he watched the tape of the race. He said, I agree with you, boys. It's a lot of fun to drive this car.
Well, it's so well balanced, and a light car is fun to drive because it does everything so good. You know, it gets into the corner good, it gets out the corner good. And this Mazda engine just screams.
Well, it's an unenviable position the Grand American Road Racing Association has to balance these cars out in terms of power plants, weight, etc., etc. And here you got Porsche, Mazda, Pontiac, all within a hand's throw of each other. So they've done a very nice job. Chris, good GT battle.
That's right, Lee. You know, talking to the Pontiac boys, they said last year the GTOR was just a little bit more nimble of a car. It was that shorter wheelbase, something a little bit more like the Mazda. This year, that longer wheelbase has given them some stability, but the biggest problem, like you said, Dorsey, getting off the corner. They just don't have that forward bite that they need. They're still trying to develop that into the car. Right now, that's it. That's the biggest thing they're lacking.
Let's go back up front. We climb on board with Max Angelelli, and he is hassling Scott Pruitt. Gee, we haven't seen this often in the Rolex Series, have we? These two boys love going hard at it. And Angelelli, can he bridge that gap? Pruitt's in third, Angelelli's fourth. Hurley Haywood is second. Ian James is your race leader.
What about that 59 car today? Great performance by the team. JC did an awesome opening stint. Hurley Haywood picking up the reins here and doing great.
Well, let's hear from the boss, the commander, Bob Snodgrass.
Bob Snodgrass, Lee, what a gentleman of the sport. Bob, to watch the team and its resurgence, especially the 59 car, what does that mean to you? How special is it?
Well, you know, we've been together. Hurley and I have been together since 1972. And everyone says, well, he's too old, he should retire. He's not too old. He just teaching him a lesson right now. But he's doing really well. JC Franks did a phenomenal job in the car. Qualified that car 11th, brought it right up to the front. So we're very happy. We kind of missed it. We didn't miss a call. We got a situation where we were not able to pit on the yellow when we should with 58. But I think David Donahue is storming through the field. Brumos is there, and we're glad to be back.
Good to see Brumos back. Good to see Bob Snodgrass back at the racetrack too, guys.
Absolutely, I agree with that. What a gentleman, and still loves his racing. But meanwhile, his car is under attack. Pruitt is looking for a way by.
When that Telmex car, when Scott Pruitt gets behind the wheel, that car becomes alive. I mean, he is very capable of winning this race still.
We know that many of you turn on at various points throughout a broadcast. If you've just tuned in, welcome to Speed's live coverage of round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. You're looking at Ian James. He's been a GT class winner in the Rolex Series, never in DP. He's leading the legend, 5 times Rolex 24 winner, Hurley Haywood, and former champion, current point leader, Scott Pruitt is third.
Lee, we're just shy of about 25 laps since Ian James has been in pit lane, so that car is definitely going to need to come back to pit lane unless we get rain. And as the skies are starting to get a little bit more blue, I don't think we're going to get that. They also say that they could use a lot more cautions, but right now they are not getting those. So it looks like the Shank car, while they're leading, they are going to have to come back for fuel and tires.
I agree with you, Chris. I think Hurley's going to need fuel as well. He's going to need some help in that category. So really, I think the lead battle right now is probably the one we're looking at, with Pruitt leading the number 10 car once this fuel strategy plays out. But Ian James looking reasonably comfortable up front, but he is under pressure. He did a 2-day test down at Houston before Mexico, and boy, that just really brought him some confidence in this race car at Daytona. He wasn't happy, but after that test, he said, now I know the limits of this race car, and he's certainly showing it right now.
And look at Hurley Haywood with the pressure on. I mean, seriously, the pressure's on. They're working through GT cars, and the back cluster of Daytona prototypes, led by Angelelli, are catching these 3 in the front.
This is incredibly motivating stuff. Pruitt looks to the inside of Haywood. Can he get there? Can he get there? Yes! Hurley gives him some racing room, and Pruitt is through to second. Brian.
Cal, you're exactly right. I checked back in with Bob Snodgrass. He said, we are so close on the 59. We desperately need another yellow, but as Chris just pointed out, guys running green right now, and things not looking good for Brumos in the 59.
Pruitt is really, it doesn't look like he's leading this race, but in my eyes, he is leading this race because of the pit stop situation.
He hasn't lost a step, I tell you. Just give him a good race car. He gets it to the front. That's why he wins championships and wins a lot of races. Tied with James Weaver for most wins in this form of racing at 13. Maybe he'll have another one under his belt today.
Ian James is coming under increasing pressure. Look at that. Look at the ground that Pruitt's made up right there. Heading through turn 2, down into 3 and 4. It is on. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, there are some threatening clouds around, but I think we're going to be okay. Mass damage to Nick Johnson, 76 Krone Racing Pontiac. Look at that.
Well, by the last lap that we just ran while we were under caution there, or not under caution, look at all the dirt coming out, was just pure ugliness. A lot of guys getting into one another. Nick Johnson here, of course, the worst. This will bring out a caution, I'm pretty sure. Now it will. We're going to lose the whole front end. There's body parts everywhere.
Need some cleanup, Doss.
Now we need a little cleaning up to do.
So we're headed towards our 6th full course caution by the looks of things.
And this is not the only car, I should say, that it's the most worst damage of what's out there. But a whole bunch of guys got together.
That thing's going to be loose, the amount of downforce he's got in the back there now, Doss.
Yeah, he's in dire straits.
Yeah,
right,
and as we said, we have gone yellow. Here's the replay of what happened to Nick Johnson. It's already been released after doing some agricultural work.
And he's probably just on by the tether there.
Here, maybe we can see. That's up ahead. Oh, he's gone up the outside, heavily up the outside. And that looked like he did it on his own. Did you see anything?
I didn't see anyone around him, Dorsey. That's too bad. You know, the key there is they need to get laps under their belt with Tracy. He's doing a great job. He's been running shifter carts during the winter trying to get tuned in, and he didn't have a very good weekend this week here in Homestead. Lack of track time with the rain, and now we see Ian James making that pit stop for fuel. Chris?
That's right, Cal. Ian James, he was just leading, bringing the 6 machine to pit lane, getting that fuel. He needs to go to the end. Also tires, so while he is going to lose a lot of track position, he is going to have fresh tires. So we get another caution here in about 10 laps. This boy might be able to get it back up towards the front.
Ian has been right in the thick of things. While we were in the break, he came under increasing pressure from Scott Pruitt. I think Pruitt tried to make a move on him, and then ended up getting shuffled back. The race leader is the 10, the Wayne Taylor Racing SunTrust Pontiac Riley. As we shuffle the order yet again, here is Max Angelelli. The Italian leads the way. Former series champion, sits high out in front. If you're just joining us, this is what you have missed thus far. It has been on from the moment the green flag flew, and Jan Magnussen led from the pole position, only his 2nd Rolex Daytona prototype pole, but he led very, very well. There were some tremendous scraps for 2nd place. John Fogarty in the Gainsco, Bob Stallings 99 machine, he was in the thick of things. That was Pat Long making a move on him, a well-executed move. Long was stabilised in 2nd place, but then there was contact between Colin Brown, and Brown turned Long around, and we heard his comments later. He was not happy at all. A cone there, a marker, hitting the car of Mark Patterson, front and centre. Fogarty then put a move on young Mark Wilkins and tried to go all the way up to get Memo Rojas as well. There were some scintillating battles. After the driver change, Oswaldo Negri took over from Mark Patterson, and something distracted him enough to put him off track. Shane Lewis went off and flicked the car to avoid contact with Oz, which was some good driving. Then this, contact. And Roger Schramm was getting beaten up left, right, and centre. In the thick of things, he and Bill Lester sharing that car. Then Mark Goosens put a move on Angelelli, but found Harrison Bricks across his line, damage to the front there, and had to serve a drive-through penalty. And that took the Crown Royal Special Reserve car out of the mix. You rejoin us high above Homestead-Miami Speedway, and this is our 360 OTC Gin Resorts Lightship. Look at that. Fabulous stuff. Great to have them here. This is our eye in the sky camera. What a screen that is, and this can be seen flying over major North American outdoor events throughout this summer.
Wonder what my wife would say if I flew that home tonight. I need one of those. I do.
I'll tell you what she said. She wouldn't be surprised, Dawes. So, back here, regrouping and sorting out where they are. Let's take a look at how the 10 became our new race leader. Look up ahead. There's the Ganassi car with Scott Pruitt working on Ian James. This is the long stretch down into turn 8.
Now he's trying to outbrake and go up the inside. Hits the curb. Gets loose there.
Oh, that was tight.
This gets better. Launch off this corner. Pruitt took it in really deep, had no speed coming off that hairpin. Ian James got compromised a little bit, and now Angelelli has the run.
Up in the draft, he works to the inside of the racetrack. Backed up underneath the draft again to get a little more help, and then moves right down. That was close. Ooh, that was close.
He's using the IROC experience there. A little side draft.
That is some phenomenal racing. And that's why this man here, Max the Axe, is out in front. The 6 just pitted moments ago. We have got the top 13 cars on the lead lap, and laps and time running out. Let's step back in time for a moment and revisit 2005 here at Homestead-Miami. The SunTrust Racing team at the hands of Max Angelelli, Wayne Taylor, enjoy victory. They had gone back-to-back there. They won the Rolex 24 that year. They came here to Homestead, won this event, and went on to win a championship. Are we witnessing the same again? Max is out in front, and time rapidly running out in this third round of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Can he do it, boys?
I think he's in a great shape. Bill Auberlen is hungry. I mean, he was so angry down in Mexico City. He knows if he can get into this car, be on the lead lap, and be in with even a sniff of the lead doors, he's going to try and pounce on it.
Yeah, well, watch it. This right here just happened a moment ago. Tries to go up there, and there's a little bit opportunistic there. He hits the 6, roughs him up. Now, he didn't get a penalty because the 6 didn't spin. Had he spun, that would have been a drive.
Yeah, very aggressive driving there. That's really a no-no in that corner, Dorsey. I mean, Ian didn't really leave the door open, didn't make a mistake, and needs someone to really be sliding wide to make that move cleanly. But Bill Auberlen got away with one there, and right now he's right on the tail of the leader.
Let's quickly talk GT, Chris.
Well, Lee Keith's teammate, Dominic Farnbacher, currently leading GT. Lee, 3 of the top 4 came in for fuels and tires. You guys stayed out. Did the team make the right call?
Well, we don't know yet. But we are hoping we did, and we need another big caution. And we're in the front right now, and that's the place to be. So I guess we just want to stay there. We've got a bunch of guys from Shoots for Crews here, about 50 people, so we're going for it.
Like I said, the 66, the 70, and the 87 all came in for fuels and tires.
Couldn't ask for it to be better in GT either. There's been so much action in Daytona Prototypes, it's been hard to leave. We get back to it. Is this the final stanza? Do we stay green all the way to the checkup? Let's see if we can get there. Angelelli leads Auberlen, leads Pruitt. What a trio. And around the outside comes Patrick Carpentier.
Fogarty actually dives down to the inside there on Patrick there, very close to jumping the start there for the 99 machine. But here is the battle up front. Auberlen needs to pass. Now look at Patrick coming back.
On board with Gurney.
Gurney made that side-by-side through first 1, 2, and then turn 3.
Gloves are off here. Who's got the better car? Who's in better shape to the end of this race? 25 minutes to go.
A lot of great race cars still mired in the middle of this pack. 58 car David Donahue.
Oh, get this, boys, get this. The 99 Gainsco car, Alex Gurney, has been deemed jumping the start. Drive-through penalty. Take 99 out of it.
That's a shame.
Brian.
99 is gone. As soon as the green flag flew, Peter Barron down here with the Citgo team and Samax all over the officials saying the 99 jumped about the time they got the word. Peter Barron very happy. Patrick Carpentier on his way to the front.
Yeah, I got excited there. I think I might have called it Fogarty instead of Gurney in the 99 machine, but you saw them kind of jinking back and forth as they came to the green flag. And right now, Auberlen defending down to the inside, telling Scott Pruitt, don't try it right now. I want to focus on this leader. But meanwhile, Angelelli looks comfortable up front.
Well, the entire Siegel Sport team must be excited about this. The 05, this is a new team as far as Daytona Prototypes is concerned, mixing it with the big boys. This is good stuff.
Well, this is your GT battle. This is a 70 now with Sylvain Tremblay trying to get by the first place car. That's the 85.
Farnbacher sliding a little bit, and I think Lee Key may have let the cat out of the bag. He said we need a yellow.
Listen to that RX-8 whistle along, putting pressure on young Dominic Farnbacher. Chris.
Let's remember, guys, that Mazda has new tires, so that car should be in a little bit better shape after they get a couple laps on our belts and they come up to 10th. Dominic Farnbacher probably going to start swirling around there a little bit.
And it's a lighter car, so those tires, they last longer. Watch this, up the inside maybe.
Oh, and Andy Lally just sitting back there. He's in good shape. He pitted for fuel. So he should be good to go. I think the battle for the win here today is going to be between the 70 and the 66.
Yeah, I totally agree. The 70 is going to try to make it a moot point by just going on by anyway.
At GT order is Farnbacher, Tremblay, Lally, then Patrick Huysman, winner of the Rolex 24 GT class. And look at this, Alex Gurney, the Mexico City race winner, serving his drive-through penalty for jumping the restart.
Now, he needs a yellow, Calvin. If he's ever going to do anything, he's going to need a yellow to get it done.
This is a crippling blow. He's going to drop down to about 15th position in class here, so this is going to cost him huge in points.
Chris, tell us more about the 6.
Well, Ian James, who is leading this race in pit lane right now, getting a new nose on the car. It sounds like it was one of the Frizzell brothers that possibly chopped the nose off this car. At least that's what Mike Shank is telling me at this point.
That would have been Burt, who's running the 61 car. Along with Mark Wilkins, they've had a great run here today. He's currently in 11th position, Burt Frizzell.
Check this out. Farnbacher, Lowell, Speed Source, and TRG.
1, 2, 3 in the GT class. These guys mixing it up pretty heavily.
But I tell you, they got David Haskell on the pit box of this Speed Source team. He will know the strategy. He will know how far that Porsche in front of him can go on fuel. And he'll be keeping Sylvain Tremblay. And there you see it. Farnbacher slides a little bit on those old tires.
Trying to hang on to this Farnbacher Lowell's car.
Chops down and gets the position back. But now the Mazda on the top side, stretching its legs.
This track yielded Speed Source's best result in GT racing. It was a second this time last year. They've since eclipsed that with a win in Mexico City. And look at this, high side for Sylvain Tremblay, trying to round up the young German Dominic Farnbacher and Andy Lally in the mix in the TRG Porsche.
Lally will try to go to the inside, follow the other Porsche. Not going to make it this lap.
Good heads up driving from Lally.
Oh, there's a try. There's a mistake. And a full course caution comes out. That's not going to affect that. Debris on the racetrack, we hear.
Demon late braking by Dominic Farnbacher down into 1, but then he just carried too much momentum into the next braking zone, and it was all over. Slip wide. He needed fresh rubber there, and the Mazda is through and into the lead. Can they make it 2 in a row?
Well, I'm pretty sure that pass was completed before that full course caution got called. We'll look at that. It was really close in time proximity.
Well, Dorse, I asked you right at the top of the show, will we see a race like we saw in Mexico City? You said, no way, different track, we're going to get yellows. This is number 7. We'll take our chance to get our breath back. The field will compress, we'll regroup. Closing stages of round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, and we couldn't ask for it to be more exciting up front. We've got the Wayne Taylor Racing SunTrust car and the Seagull Sport BMW. Do these two cars and teams have a little bit of history? You bet. Mexico City, the last round. Check this out.
Magnussen, better than that. The way he's got to go by, he's got to hit me from behind. That is a very chicken move. I am really, really unhappy with him. And let me just tell you, people get theirs back and forth, and it's going to come. And I am so unhappy. You've never seen me this unhappy, ever.
So have they got history? Yes, they do. And that was the voice of this man here, Bill Auberlen. Brian, this is going to be a very interesting finish.
It will be interesting, Lee, because I talked to Rick Mayer, who's doing the engineering on that car. I said, do you have a car to go to the front? And he said, well, actually, the car's horrible. But I just don't think it's quite as horrible as everybody else's. He said there's no grip out there. Bill is saying the car's not good, and yet we're running quick lap times or quicker than everybody else. So even though we don't have the car we want, we may still have a car to go to the front.
We will see if that express luggage Seagull Sport BMW is good enough. They're not happy down at Bob Stallings Racing. We'll have more when we return. Welcome back, everyone. We are in the closing stages of what has been a gripping race. It's been quite an interrupted race with 7 caution periods, but there has been loads of excitement and there's been plenty of emotion, none more than at Bob Stallings Racing.
Bob Stallings just talking to the official again. Now he's talking to the crew guys on the radio. We'll see if we can get him real quick. Bob, obviously, I know you guys are upset with that call, but it seems to be some confusion as to what the call is about.
That's exactly right. There's no question that you cannot get out of line. We all understand that rule, and clearly Alex got out of line, so we made a mistake. The drive-through is fine. But on the last restart, there were 2 cars that were out of line, so all I'm saying is If the rule is get out of line and you have to come in, fine. But whoever was out of line has got to come in. So there's at least 2 cars that are out there right now, in my view, that were out of line.
Looking for a little equality down here on the eyes or in the part of Bob Stallings, guys.
We're getting ready for the restart, and we will stay with this right through to the checkered flag. 13 3/4 minutes to go. Has Auberlen got anything for Max Angelelli? And watch that blue and white Telmex car, the Lexus Riley of Scott Pruitt.
Now, if Auberlen gets in the back of him and spins him, it could be a drive-through. But if he roughs him up and gets by, that's a whole different story.
And I think Auberlen has to pounce during these first couple laps. Angelelli very tight there. Narrow entry. That'll cost him on the exit here a little bit. Is that BMW Torque coming off the corner, but the Pontiac is strong also.
Is Max looking forward, or is he looking back? He's got to look back.
There he
what
goes.
A braking move from Auberlen. That was scintillating.
But did he overshoot that corner? No, it's going to work really well. Auberlen drove it in there.
He knew he had to make it count before Angelelli got into his rhythm. Angelelli now is going to come under attack from Pruitt. Can he respond?
This Dynon-built BMW is quick. It's reliable. It's consistent. And Matthew Alhadaf has done his job in the early part of this race and handed it over to a multi-time champion in the Rolex series in GT, never in Daytona prototypes.
And look at Auberlen set sail now. Now that he's got the lead, look at him go.
Brian.
Cal, you pointed it out earlier when we talked about traction control. It was the one thing Rick Mayer was concerned about, wheel spin with that very torquey BMW. Keep an eye on him in the infield. You can't afford to spin those tires and let Angelelli close back up.
Well, they said they were starting to try and use second gear, and as the tire goes away, that's something that Bill Auberlen's going to have to manage. How much performance does he lose by using a high gear compared with the tire management issue? So right now, Bill Auberlen is in the lead. He led at Daytona in round 1 of this championship chase. He's back out front, Dorsey.
The good news for Bill Auberlen is Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt in 3rd place, putting heavy pressure on Angelelli. Angelelli's going to have to keep an eye on that rearview mirror, not to leave something open.
There are a sea of Riley chassis cars up front, but check the power plant difference. BMW leads a Pontiac, leads a Lexus, another Pontiac, and then a Porsche.
And Carpentier, he wants a piece of this action in 4th place.
Pruitt looks strong.
There's Patrick Carpentier in the Sitco Samax car. Hurley Hayward staying in touch. Here's a replay of the lead. This is a very savvy move.
Just dives it to the inside. Let him know right there. Don't even think about it. I will hit you back.
And Max the Axe is the king of the late breakers of Bill Auberlen. Just took it to him. We saw that Angelelli took a narrow entry to turn 4. Cost him a little bit of momentum. It's pretty even here, but here comes Bill.
His mind was made up off the last corner. I'm going to do it. When I get up there, I'm going to do it.
I think the mindset had to be, Dorsey. He had to take advantage during those first couple of laps. I think Angelelli's car is probably a little bit stronger than the 05, but I think Pruitt's got the match for Angelelli. This is going to be great.
We're into the single digits as far as laps remaining. Just over 10 minutes. This is gripping stuff.
Would be such a win for that Auberlen team. That BMW power plant, they have tried so hard.
Look at Hurley Hayward. Running 5th. He had a big off-course excursion with one of those incidents we saw coming down into this particular turn, turn 8. Got lucky that it didn't damage the nose on the 59 machine as he took avoiding action about 10-12 laps ago. And there you see Michael Valiante right behind him, another strong car.
And one behind that is the other Brumo's Porsche. As it's David Donahue now is right behind that, Valiante.
Yeah, the Ford Crawford of Michael Valiante, he and Rob Finlay will be well pleased with this. Their best result of the season is 10th. That was at the season opening Rolex 24. They're currently placed 6th.
Valiante looks slow around that banking. They've talked about the engine issue, and there you can see David Donahue closes right up on Valiante, taking several car lengths off of him.
Brian.
Lee, Matthew Alhadaf has no fingernails or fingers anymore. I don't think you've been chewing on him so much. How nervous are you, bud, and what would the victory mean here?
This is awesome. I'm so nervous because last time we were in this position, our car broke right at the end, and just, you know, so many things can go wrong, you know, so I'm just freaking out, man. I want to win so bad. This is great.
Lot of emotion down here right now. Just wait till the checkered flag if they're out in front.
I got to tell you guys, Bill Oberlin, when he gets that bit between his teeth, that guy can put it on the money. Look at him pull away from this tree.
Look at this. I think Angelelli is feeling the Taylor. He's feeling the Taylor. He's probably feeling that too on the radio. He's feeling the pressure from Scott Pruitt right now, and this is allowing Bill to stay in the rhythm, not having to defend. When you can run this racetrack, Dorsey, and not have to go on a narrow line down into the entry, that keeps the lap time up, and he's stretching it a little bit right now.
That's exactly right. That's why I said Scott Pruitt is his best friend, keeping that pressure on Angelelli's backside there. That makes all the difference in the world. You can just keep looking ahead and hitting your marks.
8.5 minutes to go. We mentioned that Finlay Motorsports would be pleased with their run. Well, the last BMW-powered car to win in the Rolex Series was with Finlay Motorsports. Michael McDowell, Mamo Gidley, in Mexico back in 2005.
And for Steve Darnan, you know, who builds these engines, he doesn't have a lot of engines in this program, not like the Pontiacs, not like the Lexuses.
And BMW has been behind Bill Oberlin's victories in championships over the air. Here we go, 99, Gurney in trouble again.
Gurney got into it with the 6 that time. I'm not too sure if he got hit. That was Ian James. In the 6, we saw it with a new nose. Might need another one.
2 cars that were in very strong positions, but it's fallen away as this race has gone on. What about the 23? Where's the Ruby Tuesday car? Jorg Bergmeister back in 9th behind Max Pappas, who follows David Donahue, who's in 7th.
So many strong cars throughout this top 10. It's hard to make any ground up when you get back in the pack a little bit. Here we go again.
Ian James up the inside, but I don't think Gurney knows he's there. They touch quarter panel. Around goes the 99. And that will bring a penalty for the 6, I guarantee it.
Yeah, that move.
Ian knows that doesn't work. Bill Oberlin did it to him and pushed him out wide, so I'm sure Ian's frustrated at this stage of the game, having led this race earlier today.
You can't defend against that. When a guy gets you in the quarter panel and you're already turned in and starting to commit to throttle, you know, you're going to go around. And the 6s now we're hearing going to get the drive-through, which we knew was going to happen.
We know Mike Shank is not going to be happy. He's going to say, my guy got taken out in that corner by the leader of the race right now. Meanwhile, when Ian does it, he's going to get the penalty. And I think you made the call earlier, Dorsey. Ian didn't go off course when he got tagged.
That is the difference. One spun, one didn't. Had not Gurney spun, he just got knocked to the side. There would not have been a penalty. It used to be like that in Trans Am.
The question that needs answering is, can Bill Oberlin hang on for another 6.5 minutes?
I'm surprised, Dorsey. I don't know about you. I'm surprised that Bill Oberlin has been able to pull away from the 10 and the 01.
You know, when he dived it in there, I think the adrenaline hit Max. You know, I went right up the top of his head there. Now he said, hey, I can win this deal.
It's on here too in GT land. Sylvain Tremblay is leading in the Mazda. There's back-to-back wins on the line, but he is being hounded by Andy Lally, and Wolf Hensler has made his way up into 3rd. This is far from done in both categories. Chris, what's the news in GT?
Lee just checked in with Kevin Buckler to see if Andy Lally had anything for that little Mazda. He said, you know, the car is just working great. Andy's making up time on the infield and in the braking zones, but the little Mazda is just quicker than us on the straight. So as soon as the 70 car gets up on the oval, all the aids that Andy made in the infield just seem to dissipate.
He's got him, Chris. Lally is through. New race leader in GT.
Great move. Now let's see if he does have more straightaway speed. If he does, he should be able to come right back by. Andy won't make it easy, obviously.
A rare mistake by Tremblay there, under braking for that turn. We've seen so much action, and here he comes. There's the horsepower.
Definitely the horsepower. And the weight. Remember, this car is much lighter than the Porsche.
How easy was that?
Whew. That makes your day difficult if you're Andrew Lally after you see that.
5.5 minutes to go now. We are working our way towards a gripping finish in both classes.
So Andy Lally will need to pass the Mazda here in the first couple of corners so he can open up a big gap, knowing that that Mazda is going to get him on the straightaway. He's got to open a big gap, Calvin.
That's a great point, Dorsey. He will not be able to defend, even if it's on the last lap around that banking. The Mazda had about 5 miles an hour on him through the mid part of the straightaway there, so that is a huge advantage that the RX-8 has right now over the Porsche in straightaway speed.
Back up front, Oberlin has a 1.3 second lead. Tremblay locks a brake.
Well, you see how hard he's trying to stay in front of there. You know, once you've seen that, once you're the driver like Andy Lally, and you realize that he's going to pass you in the straightaway, then you have to be ultra mega aggressive now.
Oh, here we see another great battle.
Hensler defending from Dirk Werner.
Not for long.
Oh, Werner's gone a little wide. Tried to do it around the outside, can't do it. The Taffel car holds the higher ground.
Is he hungry like the wolf, Lee? Been dying to use that.
I think he is.
You know, forget tire conservation now when you're sitting down there with 4 minutes to go. Let it all hang out, baby. It's time to win a race.
No repeat winner in the 2007 season so far in the Rolex Championship. Well, we have new winners again. Look at this, coming into traffic, and that has bought Angelelli some time over Pruitt. And look at Oberlin skipping away. Can he hang on for another 3 minutes, 50 seconds?
And looking at the lap times, Billy Oberlin just around a 1:15.7. Everyone else is in the 16s. He's got half a second advantage over the guys.
And that, unfortunately, dropped Pruitt back to keep off the back of Angelelli. So now Max will be able to really put his head down.
Has had an amazing history with BMW, has Bill Oberlin. Went all the way to driving those fabulous Le Mans prototypes, to here driving a Daytona prototype, BMW power. He's been a GT champion. He's been a Speed World Challenge champion. But this would be one of his finer moments if he can hang on to clinch this win.
Oberlin cannot be held up in traffic. He's going to have to really stick the nose of the BMW in there and get by, because if he gets held up, the lead's going to be gone.
We know he can do the job. He had that awesome podium finish with Shane Lewis at Long Beach last year. Great result for the Southern Motorsports team there. And here we see the two Brumos cars together. Hurley Haywood now feeling it from David Donahue.
Can David find a way through on the sister car? It's on for third. Look at this, Dirk Werner and Wolf side by side on the banking.
Equal cars, that makes it difficult for you.
Two of the Porsche superstars going at it neck and neck down into one.
And up front, it is still Speed Source defending from TRG. Werner's got the inside run. Has he put one over Wolf here? He has.
What a move. That was superb.
That was well-timed, perfect timing, executed well. Can he get it back here, though? He'll try.
Just over 2 minutes remaining. This became a time-certain race quite a while ago due to the 7 caution periods.
Of course, Sylvain Tremblay now loves all this because it's assuring him the win in class with these two guys beating themselves to death back here.
Let's not discount Andy Lally, though. He is still hounding Sylvain Tremblay. There is the black Porsche, second car in shot. Can he make any impression on this 70 Speed Source Mazda RX-8?
Gets any closer, he'll leave an impression, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, at the front of the race, Angelelli's got the overall lead to under a second. So it's not over yet in either class with 1.5 minutes to go.
Look at that Mazda there, so strong. But again, some of that may be the downforce, Dorsey. We talked about the different strategy on this Roval. Do you set the car up for braking in the infield like the Porsche has, or do you want to be able to stretch your legs right here?
Good point there. And I'll tell you another thing, Calvin. The traffic that we talk about can affect these guys as well, these GT cars, particularly the Mazda. If the Mazda gets held up in traffic, that Porsche's got more torque.
White flag waiting for the Luggage Express BMW Riley of Bill Oberlin. And the 87 of Dirk Werner has run off track. White flag for Oberlin. He's on his way home. 1 to go. And the report we get from the track is Hensler gave Werner a nudge and pushed him off track.
There's traffic up ahead of him, Dorsey. Bill Oberlin has driven the wheels off that lead machine, but here we're looking at the GT battle once again.
Oh, look at this. Angelelli, Pruitt, Carpentier. Patrick Carpentier's not out of the mix either. He may be able to get that car onto the podium.
There's your lead in GT coming the hairpin.
I think they're going to get another lap under the belt. I think they're going to beat the DP cars to the finish line and get one more lap.
You ride with the second place car. Was that Oberlin who dropped a wheel off? Boy, it is happening everywhere here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. This is for the minor placings in GT. Great individual battles, particularly between these two Porsche teams. And up front, Oberlin has enough. Bill Oberlin will go to win the Daytona prototype class and this race overall. Here it is, the Siegel Sport Luggage Express BMW. Matt Alhadeff and Bill Oberlin win the Miami Grand Prix. Round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. And the Californian man will be pumped.
Bill Oberlin, you are a rock star, mate. I did not think that he'd be able to do that, Dorsey, with a 10 car and the 01 car behind him.
I didn't either. Here's a GT battle, though, but I think it was the adrenaline deal. Andy Lally trying every kind of line he can try to disrupt Sylvain Tremblay. Sylvain made a mistake last lap. If he does it one more time, he's in big trouble.
Look, Andy's going to stove in there. Sylvain's going to have to defend. He's got to stay to his left. All right, as we're looking at it on screen. Down to this hairpin.
Lighter cars should be able to be better on the brake. Now, watch Andy. Try to go up the inside here.
Can he get the power down?
Both slide off the corner.
Sylvain has got the upper hand. Nick Ham, Dave Haskell, the entire Speed Source crew are headed for back-to-back victories in GT.
Andy Lally, a class act, didn't play dirty. Gave it his all.
And considering where that TRG car qualified, that's a mighty comeback. But it's back-to-back wins for the mighty RX-8. Mazda and Speed Source do it again at the hands of Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay.
I think Sylvain slowed up a little, back off the throttle, make that finish look a little closer so he doesn't get a little weight on that Mazda.
Glad he didn't miss a shift.
Thrilling stuff. So a surprise winner in DP. But no surprise there, that Mazda is one of the cars to beat in GT. But how about Billy Orbelin? First-time winners, Siegel Sport in Daytona Prototypes. When we come back, we'll hear from them. 9 p.m. Eastern. Brian Till.
Bill Oberlin and this entire Siegel Sport crew celebrating down here. Bill, I've watched you race for years. We've talked a lot in Victory Circle. I don't think I've ever seen one that difficult.
Yeah, that was tough, huh? You know when you win this, the team is doing something right. This Siegel Sport team, Dynan Motors, performance drink. There's so many people to list. This thing was awesome. And I got to say thanks to my crew, Rick Mayer, who engineered this car, my crew, who was awesome. And I'm glad they're sticking by me. And let's go to the next one and do it again. Thanks, Matt. And I'd like to say hello to my wife at home. I didn't forget you. So, and my mom and dad and Jeff, this one's all for you guys.
And Matt, for you. On awesome run as well. You hand the car over to Bill in a good position on the racetrack. Your job made it possible for him to win this thing.
Oh, man, I don't know. I did my best. I give all the credit to him. He's so unbelievable. And I'm glad I didn't have a panic attack before we got here because I'm so excited, man. I can't even breathe. I need more water than he does, man. Oh, it's great. It's great to be here. And the Luggage Express BMW is awesome today. And we just, we did it finally. Thank you.
This team getting stronger and stronger every weekend. We saw them run so strong in Mexico City. It finally pays off, Lee.
And there are the results of this third round of the Rolex Sports Car Series. A lot to talk about. Was that third place enough to keep Scott Pruitt in the lead of the championship? You bet it was. But what a gripping end. Good work from the Samax team of Milka Duno, Patrick Carpentier, considering Milka spun earlier in the race. Brumos, how about those guys? 5 and 6, very strong. Season best result for Finlay and Valiante. A lot to talk about here. And what are the Riley Matthews team thinking down there in 18th? Could have been so much better. Chris.
Well, it's 2 in a row for Speed Source Mazda. Once again, Porsche right behind you. Sylvain, you've got to be so proud of this team. You came to Homestead last year, had a great finish, partial season. This year, it's a full season. Tell me about that battle with Andy Lally.
What a battle. That's one of the best races I've ever had. Just a world of respect for Andy Lally and the whole TRG group. They were smarter than us in the pits. They came in for tires, and we're going back and forth, and I think we made a mistake, but it really worked out for us. But just, Andy was right there. His car was better in a couple of places. We were better in a couple of places. It was so tight. I could see inside his car. I could have told you what his gauges said. That's how close we were. What great racing. The car was fantastic. Nick, what he had to do at the start was not easy. He dropped back a little bit. We qualified up front again, but 2 in a row for Mazda, so we're on a streak. I can't believe it. Just zoom, zoom, zoom.
Nick, you had the Jumbotron right behind you, so you got to watch the whole battle there. How much pressure and tension and stress were you going through as you were watching your teammate fight Andy Lally?
It was horrible. No, that was so exciting. And you saw today one of the best sports car races in the world. That was classic Sylvain Tremblay. The whole team did fantastic, and the Mazda RX-8, beautiful, beautiful car. That's just another great team effort. No mistakes, and we're in the winner's circle again.
What a strong finish for these guys. Porsche's definitely got their work cut out for them.
Thanks, Chris, and congratulations to the Speed Source boys. Let's review those results in GT. And how about the individual battles all the way down the line? Be interesting to know what happened to the Pontiac boys. They were well in the mix. Was it tyres? Was it some kind of performance issue? Well, you bet they'll be in there season long, but they'll be slightly frustrated with what went down here today. There was plenty of action in both classes, particularly at the end in GT. So there's our complete rundown in GT. Well, let's talk Daytona Prototypes again. Brian has more.
Max Angelelli down here just having a word with Jan Magnussen about the race. Max, looked like a good run through most of it, but right there at the end just didn't have enough car. Did you start thinking, hey, championship if I can't catch Bill Arbelin?
No, I wanted to win this race, out of question. It surprises me a lot because I couldn't see in the mirror. So I thought it was a quite long way. Actually, he did very well, and I didn't even close the door, which I normally do. It surprises me. He did very well.
And Jan Magnussen, obviously you did your part, Jan. You and Max, second in the championship right now, but for you, you're not going to be here all year long. Does it change your perspective and your drive at all, knowing that you can't run for the championship?
Not really. I'll give 100%, and I'll be there for VIR next time. I'll give my best, and hopefully make sure that Max is in the lead when I go home and do some other stuff.
You heard him, guys. Championship or not, they're going for the checkered flag.
Some nice honesty there from Max Angelelli as well, saying that he wasn't expecting Bill Arbelin to be where he was and to come up as quickly as he did. That was an extremely impressive move from Bill Arbelin, and it was the signature move. It really had a bearing on the overall result of the race. We'll be back to wrap things up from Homestead-Miami Speedway when we return. Well, we are just wrapping things up here in Miami. Let's hear from more down in pit lane.
Another good run for Memo Rojas and Scott Pruitt. Memo, you had the car first. The pressure that you have on your shoulders, do you think about that each time you're out there trying to protect this championship lead for Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I know the responsibility is really high, and I did my best because it's very difficult because you have to be aggressive at the same time, but you have to keep the car intact. Like I told Scott at Mexico, I want to be like a ballet car parking and give the car keys, with no scratches, So I did my best. I think we did a good job and put the car in the top 3, I believe. Then we got out of sequence because of the pit stops and yellow flags. But I think I was happy with the result.
And Scott, for you, I know that championship is so important. You've been in this position before. Do you remember a time in the series that it's ever been this tough? The competition looks awesome.
It's awesome. I mean, the Telmex car ran good. Memo did a great job. Almost any of us could have won. The BMW was a little stronger, and I'm excited that they got their win. I mean, that's pretty cool. But the Ganassi guys did a great job. Telmex car ran good, and we're just excited. We just have to keep chipping away, get whatever points we can.
Still leading by 1, Lee.
Yeah, that's the important thing, isn't it? So the 3-point lead has been reduced to 1, but 1's as good as any, isn't it? Still Magnussen and Angelelli shadowing, and Carpentier's strong run at the end there puts he and Milcaduno and the Samax organisation in a strong position. Brown and Pappas maintain their position in the top 5, and Mark Wilkins in the AIM Autosport car is in the top 5. Chris?
Well, Angelelli had just an amazing run in GT. It looked like you had the 70 car beat all the way through the infield, but then he just pulled away up on the oval.
Yeah, I mean, TRG gave me a great car. The Porsche was running well, but that Mazda was strong. I had never gone flat that many times in a row on the oval, and especially at the end there, both Silla and I got to give him credit. He drove really well. We were both really loose and sliding it through the oval. It was excellent. It was an excellent time, and he's a good competitor, and congrats to the Mazda guys.
Good job, bud.
Yeah, nice work, Andy Lally, wasn't it? Let's take a look at the GT points heading into the 4th round. And Nick Ham, Sylvain Tremblay have extended their lead to the tune of 10 points. It's now out to 17 over De Quesada and Jean-Francois Dumoulin and Collins and Edwards in the top 3, but they are 19 points back. Let's talk SunTrust Improve Your Position award winners today. And it's pretty easy to guess who they are. It is the 05. The race winning car came from 15th on the grid, and Bill Arbelin taking the checkered flag, 14 positions gained. And then GT, well done, Andy Lally, and RJ Valentine from 16th to 2nd. So both cars making up 14 positions. Very quickly, boys, what a great race.
It was an awesome run. I mean, hats off to the 59 car, Hurley Hayward, JC France. Great to see those guys running at the front again and having fun, I'm sure, Dawes.
Well, I'll tell you what, last 2 races in DP, 2 brand new winners. That speaks well for the series. And if I'm in a GT car and I'm going to out-handle everybody, I want to out-handle them in a straightaway.
The next round of the Rolex Sports Car Series is in a month's time at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, and it's a split format. DP's alone, GT's alone. On behalf of the entire team, we hope you enjoyed watching sports cars on speed. And we congratulate the Siegel Sport team.